Brentwood got a disabled vehicle blocking the left lane, 65 southbound near Old Hickory Boulevard. Then in Hillwood, an injury crash. Police reporting this 40 westbound before Charlotte Pike. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hello, friends. Welcome in, one and all. It's just after 3 o'clock, 3:06 to be precise. My name is Matt Murphy, and this is the Matt Murphy Radio Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Pleased to be with you on this Wednesday edition, March 19, 2025. We've lots to do. It's episode 773, 773 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'll tell you the variety of platforms where you can listen or watch the radio or television show. After I introduce to you the players of the program, those voices you'll be hearing from time to time over the course of the next 4 hours, such as the one and only Ken Weaver.
Good afternoon, boys.
News Closet B. Look at you, Ken Weaver. How are you, sir?
I'm doing all right.
Yeah?
Yes, sir.
Good day so far?
Yes, yeah, it's a good day. I'm a little tired. I was up a long time last night.
What's going on with you, Ken Weaver?
Just had a medical procedure for my wife this morning that kept us up all night. And
everything all right?
Yeah,
Everything good?
Yeah. Everything's good.
Very
It
good.
just didn't allow me to sleep as long as I usually do.
What are your, the wife's going to be, everything's going to be okay?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, good? All good?
Yeah.
All right, that's first and foremost. Prayers out.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I'm pretty sure everything's okay. You know, I mean, we got good news initially. I mean, it's nothing serious. It's just when you get to a certain age, you got to have them check things.
Oh, yeah.
And the day before this particular procedure is hell.
I think
I'm picking
The
up
old
what you're putting down.
colonoscopy.
I think we're picking that up. Oh, yeah.
Oof.
Oh, yeah.
I honestly, boys, I don't think I'm doing another one. I don't think I'm going to do another colonoscopy.
Oh, come
It
on.
sucked so bad the first time.
I've heard good things about that thing where you just mail in a sample.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I hear they're not as accurate.
Not as accurate or effective.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing. You know what you could do? Well, let's see. You still have to do the worst part is everything that has to happen before the thing.
Yeah.
When we were doing when I talked about Kraft Body Scan for so long, they've taken a little bit of break, but I talk about them. They do like virtual or CT based colonoscopies where they can, but you still have to do the prep.
Yeah.
Because they still have to get the stuff out of there.
Got to have it cleaned out, yeah.
Yeah, you got to have it cleaned out even to do the CT scan version of it. It's less invasive, but for most people, it's not the invasive nature of the actual colonoscopy. It's everything you have to do beforehand.
Yeah. I mean, because you don't really know what's going on.
No, I mean, when I did mine, you go in there and you say, hey, and you go, oh, well, y'all enjoy yourselves. And they give you a little something and you go, bloop. And then you wake up and everyone's expression has changed. It's like, what were y'all doing while I was asleep? I don't know. What'd you find?
Couple of license plates.
Can I tell you,
Old boot.
By the way, there's Chris Weber, too. An old boot.
My brother Chris.
Couple of license. A scene from Jaws. Apparently Matt Murphy's been swimming in southern waters.
Is that an old Milwaukee can?
I was wondering where I put that. Oh, maybe Fusilli Jerry. There's a 1,000,000 to 1 shot. $1,000,000 to 1 shot. My grandfather claimed that he had a colonoscopy in his 60s. He had not had a colonoscopy in his 60s. More on that later. But he could not hear very well, right? And I was unable to get home, but he had so many good church folks and friends in the town that would help him out, and we had a good friend, Mr. Fred, that took him to his colonoscopy, and so he had to do all of the prep, and he went in, And they found he had been having a little bit of trouble, which is what led him to get this colonoscopy. And he told me I called him, and once again, can't hear very well. So, I mean, I'm as loud a person as you're ever going to meet.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to, during the latter years of my pa's life, yell on the phone. It was just a ridiculous. So, I mean, hey, Pa! Hey. Anyway, so he says, I said, how'd everything go? He goes, oh, it went good. Oh, it went fine. He said, they found a couple of them polyps. He got polyps right, which is good. And I said, oh, did they? He goes, yeah, they could check them out. They think they're okay though. But the big deal was don't make me laugh. They found an anal mast. And I said, sir? He goes, yeah, I've been having trouble going to the bathroom, and they think it's because of this anal mast. And I said, Pa, you mean a mass? He goes, no, mast. I was like, yes, sir, ahoy, matey. There's a pirate ship down there, and that's all good. Oh, all aboard. And so, a mast, okay, it's a mast. Thankfully, we found out that the mast was benign.
Yeah, the mast.
It was a benign mast. It was not like they didn't have the Jolly Roger up or something like that. So.
That's good.
So hopefully they don't find any anal masts.
Yeah, man.
No, but you know what, Ken? You got to do it. Don't talk about not doing it.
I know you got to do it, but man, it just sucks that day before.
If there's sucking going on, I think you're doing it wrong. But
well, I mean,
It's more of the blowing.
I thought it was the other way.
well, I mean, you're sucking down that god awful liquid.
That's true.
Oh my gosh!
I don't mean to be this guy, because I know that everybody's different. Mine wasn't that bad. It didn't. I mean, you had to go to the bathroom, and it was like Montezuma's Revenge, and it was all. I mean, and it was constant, and yes, by the end of it, there are parts of your body that are like, no more. We're done here.
Yeah, it's like flashing bright red. Pain.
But I did mine a little early. Because I'm a hypochondriac.
Yeah.
And I was convinced that I had colon cancer. I was at 47 years old. I was convinced that I had colon cancer.
Well, the next time I do mine, which I am going to do mine, because I mean it does save lives. If they catch it early enough. But I'm not going to drink that stuff as long as they told me to the last time. I think I was pretty much. I'll be honest, boys. I know we're getting close to dinner here, but I was done about 4 or 5 hours into it. I'm pretty sure I was done.
You were cleaned out.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I see. I think there's doctors they're just loving this conversation.
Oh, I bet they are.
Let's just. What do they know? What do they know?
Exactly. What does he know?
I mean, what are they going to do? Not do the colonoscopy?
Well, you got to think about it. It's just a blanket. Okay, here's this gallon. Drink it. Well, everyone's colon is not the same, right? I mean, it takes more to clean out some people's than it does the other.
That's fair.
They don't tailor that. So Ken may have a point.
I mean, well, I think Ken's a little full of it, so I think he needs to drink the whole bit.
Maybe.
I got tired of drinking broth and eating Jell-O.
For me, the worst part was getting it all. I mean, the worst part was just drinking that sheer amount of fluid.
Yeah.
Have you done it yet, Chris?
See, I haven't done it yet. I think at 45 is when they say you're supposed to start.
Keep backing it up, right?
I'm past that a little bit. I have not done it yet, so it's
50
time.
now.
Oh, is it
it's 50 now? Yeah.
Oh, good. I got a couple more years then. Maybe they'll come up with something new by the time I hit 50.
I think, and somebody can fact check me on this, I think officially, Weaver, it's 50 years old unless your family has a history.
Okay.
And if your family has a history, they say maybe back it up to 45.
Well,
so.
I'm good as far as I know.
What do doctors know?
Mast. Mast. Yes, sir. It was anal. It was coming right out of there. Ahoy, matey. Arg. Oh, he hated it. He said, I'm not. He was like, I did that. He was so convinced. He's so funny. He was like, I did that thing like 3 years ago. And I talked to Mr. Fred later on. I was like, is everything okay? He's like, yeah, they found like 22 polyps. and they found this anal mass, and he said, I think we're all good. They removed that, and they think everything's benign and everything's fine. And everything was fine. But I'm like, well, he says he did one 2 years. He can say he didn't do one 2 years ago.
He just got out of it. He said, oh, yeah, I did that.
Oh, yeah, I did that. Yeah, sure.
It's all clear.
Whatever.
All good.
I mean, but my grandpa and doctors never got along. Like, doctors are for sick people. That was his philosophy. It sounds a lot like Ken Weaver now that I think about it.
Well, yeah. I mean,
How long ago was yours, Ken?
mine will be 5. It's 5 years ago.
Oh, we're coming up on time to do that again.
They said every 10 years.
Do they?
That's the same guy that just, 5 minutes ago said, I'm never doing it again. But see, Ken Weaver is so smart. Y'all don't know how smart Ken is, because I heard him do it. He was like, I'm never doing that again. And then he was like, no, because people are going to call me and write me. And I'm going to get all that crap coming into my inbox.
No pun intended.
Yeah, no pun intended. So then Weaver goes, no, I'm kidding. I'll do it.
I'll do it. Well, I mean, it is free.
Is it?
Yeah. Insurance pays for it.
Oh, well. I mean, that's preventative.
Let's do one a week then if they're going to pay for it.
Yeah. It's just kind of like a bad date.
I tried to do mine on air, and there was no way to do that.
Thank goodness.
I did.
Well, Katie Couric did it.
Yeah,
Katie
that's
Couric
right.
did it.
She did.
And I wanted to do the same thing, and everybody acted like I was it was like, why? Well, what everybody said, and I guess this makes sense, is why would we do that on radio?
Yeah, it kind of loses a little bit of
It
its
loses
steam
a little
there.
bit of the pump, because I mean I'm going to be out anyway.
Yeah, it would just be.
Because I don't want to be awake. I don't want to be awake. Yeah, it'll just be some. What's that? It's some
you hear the
doctor.
commentary in the
Yeah,
background.
right. You just hear some mumbling in the
You'll
background.
just hear,
Oh, that's not supposed to be there.
What's this shoelace for? Oh my goodness. Sir, can I help you?
This looks like a mast.
It's Captain Jack Sparrow.
oh, goodness.
Anyway, so that's how we crank up the old radio show today. Good time. If y'all were at the GOP Reagan dinner last night, thank you for being so kind to me. I was kind of a stranger in a strange land. It's funny, when I do things like this, I was the MC of the event, and we had a great time. A lot of folks there. If you were there, thank you. Andy Ogles was there. Yes, we talked. More on that coming up in just a moment. And I always feel, a little lost in as much as I'm not a Republican. I've never claimed to be a Republican, but obviously I love many of my conservative friends. I love many of my Republican friends, and loved every single person in that room. Great people, a great gathering at the Woolworth Theater last evening. And if you were there and we got a chance to say hello, thank you so much. And if you weren't there, you need to be there next year. Support Davidson County Republicans. They need all the support that you can get. Saw a lot of old friends and met a lot of new ones. So Marsha Blackburn was there, gave a great address. Congressman John Rose was there, gave a great talk. Congressman Andy Ogles there, gave a great talk. Congressman Mark Green not there, but he had some pre-recorded remarks, apologized for not being able to make it. Those are obviously the three congressmen that currently represent Davidson County, and then, of course, Marsha Blackburn, Bill Haggerty not able to be in attendance. We will start on the show today with a little national news. We'll flip at some point over to local news of importance to Davidson County, because Courtney Johnston will be joining us in the show about 4:05 this afternoon. She'll give us a report as to what happened. Courtney's a little annoyed with the Davidson County GOP in as much as they scheduled the Reagan Day. She couldn't be at the Reagan Day dinner because they scheduled the Reagan Day dinner on the same night as the city council. But I give a little forgiveness to the Davidson County GOP because there just aren't that many Republicans on the Metro Council. Courtney Johnston happens to be one of them. She'll give us a full report. And why? Two reasons. One, a conversation we were having yesterday regarding property taxes in Davidson County. If you live in Davidson County, and I know many of you don't, and if you're in Wilson or Sumner or Williamson or Rutherford or Murray, I mean, you think, oh, that doesn't matter to me, Murph. Those stupid Davidson Countyans they know what they're getting. It does impact you in an indirect way. Would you not agree? Would you not agree that the increase in population in the suburbs impacts you and potentially could impact your tax base, or in a negative way, impact your tax burden with regard to the infrastructure needs of Sumner County? I talk to Sumner County folks all the time, and they're like, Man, we don't need all of these subdivisions. We don't need all of these cookie-cutter ant farm houses. I talk to folks all the time in Murray County. And I was like, yeah, man, keep that Davidson County out of here. Now, look, it's the natural way that we grow, right? People move out of the city and people move into our community and move into the suburbs, one way or the other. I do believe Davidson County tax rates will impact you, and it might create a certain level of flight out of Davidson County if the property tax burden gets too great. Secondarily, the crime rates in Davidson County are going up, and we'll talk to Courtney Johnston about that as well. Fusus technology could be utilized right now for the people of Davidson County, and the Metro Council sits on it. LPRs, and I understand they're certainly mildly controversial with regard to civil libertarians, and I'm sensitive to those frustrations and those concerns regarding your civil liberties and whether or not those civil liberties are being infringed through license plate readers. But I would suggest that they are not. I'm comfortable with them. I understand the necessity for extreme oversight, but I also understand how effective these things are. Look at what Mount Juliet, Tennessee is doing with license plate reader technology and the amount of people that they catch out of Nashville that are coming into Mount Juliet. Well, they don't put up with that in MJ. And guess who learns that pretty quickly? The criminal element learns not to go there. Well, Nashville could have the same thing, and it looks as if they're going to pass on LPRs. We'll talk to Courtney about that as well. You on the phones always, 615-737-9986, 615-737-9986. We've got former vice presidential candidates wishing death on American companies. We'll discuss that. We'll talk about activist judges who are fighting back against the Trump agenda and what Donald Trump and others are doing to fight back against those activist judges. This AutoPen issue, which isn't going away, which I looked as kind of a side note issue, there might be more there than meets the eye with regard to what Biden knew and when he knew it, what he signed and when he signed it. And then there's the incredibly disappointing JFK files. I would love to sit here and tell you that I've read all 80,000 pages. I have not. But I don't need to read all 80,000 pages to know that there's not going to be anything in there that satisfies anybody. There's been no other issue that started out as a quote-unquote conspiracy theory that people are more certain that they are right on than John F. Kennedy. We will discuss next as we get the show underway on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You know, I'm sad to report that if you go into a lot of local repair shops, you smell the grease, you smell the oil, you smell kind of the stink, maybe even before you get into the shop. And then the chairs are dirty in the waiting area. Maybe the counter's dirty. You don't dare touch it. You know, anything that stinks that bad in the waiting area, you know, the service in the Bay Area probably stinks as well. They keep your car forever. They're not honest with you. They don't call you back when they say they're going to call you back. I mean, was that your last experience? If so, might I recommend Eurofix? I mean, Aaron Stokes got it going on, folks. And Eurofix has it going on in terms of their waiting areas. They're never going to let you stink in the waiting area as you wait for your vehicle. As a matter of fact, you're not going to wait for your vehicle very long either. You get a free 15-minute no-wrench inspection at every visit. No high-pressure sales tactics. You get a free loaner car with every visit, a free 3-year nationwide warranty with every visit. And Eurofix is available in your neighborhood. They've got 5 separate locations. Aaron started this company in the backyard of his house in a kind of a garage barn area. And now he has 5 locations in Franklin, 100 Oaks, Murfreesboro, Belmead, and now in Mount Juliet. 844-EUROFIX or go to myEurofix.com.
Interest rates, Ukraine nuclear power, and the first ever safe haven baby box surrender in Chattanooga. These stories and more at 3:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Ken Weaver. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You can communicate with this radio show in a variety of different ways. Now, I invite you to listen on 99.7 FM. You can also find us anywhere you stream music, information, news, podcast. You can stream Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Just type that in, and there we are. Now, we invite you to download our own app, and when you do that, you can listen to us wherever you go. And if you so desire to look at some fat old guy talking on the radio, you may do so on Super Talk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. That would be Dan Mandis. You can also listen. See what I did there?
I like it.
You can also watch me on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. And if you do that, would you just hit the thumbs up button, like and subscribe? Thank you so much. It means so much. And do you know what it would cost you?
It's expensive, I bet.
I bet it is a cost-prohibitive item. Ken, you got the rate card over there?
Yeah, I'm checking right now. Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely nothing. And you'll get our good favor for the rest of your life if you do so. Tammy writes into the program on my you can find me also on social media platforms. I'm mostly over on the X machine, which is just a cesspool. It's just awful people saying awful things about other people, and I absolutely love it. You can find me at Matt Murphy Show. Like me over there. Give me the old follow if you don't mind. I think we're almost up to, I don't know what we're up to. I'd really like to get to 20,000, but I don't want to beg. Anyway, Tammy has written in and says, yes, Brother Ken. This is what Ken was trying to avoid right at the end of that colonoscopy conversation. Here we go. Yes, Brother Ken, it saves lives. And I'm not going to lie. I stand alone in the field of those who didn't really mind the procedure leading up to the procedure. The anticipation of drinking the beverages was far worse than actually drinking the beverages. Now, I'm right there with Tammy.
It's when the beverages come out.
And see, I guess it's different for everybody. Just different. I'll just leave it at that. I'm sure that I guess it's
too
different.
Close to dinner time.
It's just different for everybody. And some folks had more extreme results than others. I was worried. You know what my big fear was? And I'm not. This is how, people think I'm just, and I am. I'm kind of a big jerk on the radio or whatever, but I have a desire to please people, right? I don't want to come up short in terms of expectations. And I was worried that I would, I didn't want to be talked about in the break room. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Oh, no, I had that Murphy guy. Boy, oh, boy. He didn't drink the prep. You know what I mean?
I mean,
he had Mexican the other night. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? I didn't want to be that guy.
Yeah, I didn't. I didn't want there to be any delay. I wanted the process to end, and I was worried that maybe it'd go into extra innings.
I was offered the opportunity to look at the video.
Not me.
I got the stills. Did you get any of the still shots?
I got the stills. Yeah.
I got the still shots.
Why didn't you want to see the video?
It's just.
I want to see what's going on in there, man.
It's creepy down there. It looks like an alien down there.
They knocked me right out.
I mean, it looks creepy down there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's it's just
got to see what's going on. I mean,
it's the inside of your intestines, Weber.
Now, are you the type of guy that when you go get if you have to get a shot, do you look away?
I don't look.
See, I want to see what they're doing. I don't trust anybody. I want to see. Yeah.
That's right.
You're sticking the needle in me. I want to see where it's going, and I got to see it, man.
No, I was strongly anti-needle for most of my youth, and I overcame that. I was borderline genuinely phobic of needles.
Wow.
To the point that it bothered me greatly when I learned that I had to get some shots to go to college. There were a couple of some basic shots that I hadn't gotten.
Yeah.
They were like, well, you're going to have to get these to, and I'm like, well, I might consider.
I really want to go to college?
I might consider a career change. Yeah. Right? I mean, that's how bad it was. But I've gotten over that over time. But yeah, I don't.
You don't want to see it?
I don't want to see it. The last time I got a shot, though, My man who gave me the shot, he used the jiggle technique. Has anybody used the jiggle technique on y'all?
Jiggle.
Now, this is obviously not for like drawing blood where they have to get a vein.
Yeah.
But if you're getting medicine through a shot, he grabbed himself. Let me tell you, this is great. Y'all, he grabbed himself a little pinch of fat.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
On my haunches.
Yeah.
And what?
Haunches.
That's what he.
like that.
Y'all know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Over on my love handles, my haunch. He grabbed a little pinch of fat on my haunch, and this was so good. I complimented him, and then I went out and found like his boss and said, "This guy's good," because he grabbed that and he kind of jiggled it, and as he jiggled it, he was popping that thing in there, and so you don't know what's needle and what's jiggle.
It's a diversion.
It was a diversionary tactic,
Pretty
Ken.
slick.
It was pretty good.
Yeah.
And I said, man, this isn't your first rodeo. He said, yeah, I've given a couple of these. I was like, well, that's pretty good. I like that. You probably don't want to use the jiggle technique if they're drawing blood. That's probably
Not a good
sir.
idea.
kind of a different deal. Have you now? Well, it's 33 after that. Saved by the clock, because I was going to start asking about getting blood drawn, but we'll save that for another time. We will talk Nashville politics in a moment. Right after the news, it's News Time on Super Talk.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 5 minutes. Fed Chair Jerome Powell leaving interest rates right where they are for now.
Some near-term measures of inflation expectations have recently moved up. We see this in both market and survey-based measures. And survey respondents, both consumers and businesses, are mentioning tariffs as a driving factor.
He did say the Fed still expects to cut interest rates at some point this year, just not right now. Just got a news alert that Target is recalling nearly 200,000 cans of green beans. So if you get green beans at Target, you might want to look into that. I'll get you some more details as soon as I get out of this cast. The White House says President Trump suggested to Ukraine President Zelensky that the U.S. help run Ukraine's nuclear power plants, moving beyond a minerals deal. Meanwhile, Patrick Reevell doing some follow-up after President Trump said Russian President Vladimir Putin agreed to a 30-day ceasefire on energy and infrastructure.
Despite that, there were reports at least of one strike on a railway power facility, as well as also in another city in the east where power was lost. I think what we're hearing from the Ukrainians is, because of this sort of thing, this is exactly why now they need to pin down a clear list of targets that cannot be struck by Russia. They say that they are going to give the Russians a list of specific locations that will be energy as well as other civilian infrastructure.
Middle East conflict. Israel's begun a new ground campaign in Gaza. And right now in Tennessee, Chattanooga has its first surrender of an infant at their safe haven baby box, which lets parents in crisis safely and anonymously leave their newborns without fear of prosecution under state law. The baby was left at Chattanooga's fire station number 6. Firefighters say the baby's alive and healthy. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Just the usual brake tapping going on right now, trying to get out of the downtown area in, east and westbound 40. They're in between the eastern split and downtown. It's particularly heavy going westbound, or rather eastbound on 440 to get up there to 40 via 24. And Briley Parkway is really backed up in between Murfreesboro Pike and I-40. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
See what I say? Flurries tomorrow in parts of the mid-state.
Great.
According to the weather forecast, but no tornadic activity, at least very low chance of any tornadic activity. So hopefully nothing along the lines of Saturday. But some cold weather on the back end and maybe some flurries at Ken Weaver's house. Hey, Stoltz Co. wants to talk to you about an incredible high-quality customized structure at a reasonable price at your property, on your property location. If you own land and if you want to do something with it, if you got a little money and you want to improve the value of your property, if you want to put your money into real assets by building on your land, look, it's not a property improvement to put some sort of outbuilding on your land that you buy at some big box store. It is most certainly a property improvement if you go to Stoltz Co. and put a pole barn up or a garage or an equestrian space or an event space or a man cave space or a she shed or a mother-in-law / father-in-law building or a barn dominium, and all are possible with Stoltz Co. And when you go online at Stoltz Co., you've got to see these photos. These are high-quality structures. These are class structures, friends, that you can have at a low-cost point thanks to our buddies at Stoltz Co. Go to StoltzCo.com. That's STOLTZCO.com. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Stoltz Co. Call today, 615-622-5992. 622-5992 for Stoltz Co. All right, come bring me your greatest JFK conspiracy. The best thing you got. I think I've got one that can top everybody. My JFK conspiracy theory, I think, goes above and beyond. It will blow your ever-loving mind. And I've had it. I've believed in this JFK conspiracy theory since I was a young boy. I went to, and I've told the story several times on air, I've been to Dealey Plaza, fascinated with the JFK assassination, as many Americans have been. Obviously, it's an American tragedy. I did not live through it. I was born in 1973, so we are, we're slowly but surely getting to a time where there are fewer and fewer people. I mean, there's still plenty of people that are around and plenty of people that can tell the stories. over the years, we've heard the stories about people in schools. I've been told a story. When I was in Alabama, y'all tell me if this was the case for y'all in Tennessee. For those of you who were around and were in school, I had several people tell me in Birmingham, Alabama, that they went to a particular school, which I won't name because, frankly, I've forgotten it. It wasn't Woodlawn. It was somewhere else. You know, JFK was not popular in the South. JFK was a divisive president at the time of his election. And what unified and rallied the country around John F. Kennedy as a president of the United States of America, and what galvanized him as such an important figure. I mean, obviously, the juxtaposition between Eisenhower and Kennedy, the juxtaposition even between Nixon and Kennedy. He was a younger guy. He had a beautiful wife. He had young children. It was Camelot. Camelot. But America was most certainly divided regarding Kennedy until he got killed. And what unified the country and rallied the country around the president of the United States was the fact that he was assassinated. Now, y'all tell me if I'm wrong. I don't think I am. But what I was told in Alabama is that there were unfortunate, and I'm sad to tell you, celebrations in some parts of Alabama. Now, we should never celebrate this type of thing. Kind of reminds me of some of the Democrat celebrations and lamentations that happened post Butler, Pennsylvania last summer. Sad but true. Sometimes we allow our politics to get in front of our humanity, our basic humanity. I would never wish death, most certainly death by assassination, on anyone based on their political beliefs. I would like to kill them politically. I think that's a fair statement. But my favorite and most robust JFK conspiracy theory is that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone, that he was a frustrated communist sympathizer that sympathized with Fidel Castro and communist Cuba, and that based on his political beliefs and his belief that JFK would be the downfall of communist Cuba, that he acted by himself. At the time that I came to believe this John F. Kennedy assassination theory, it was widely held. More people than not believed that JFK was assassinated by Lee Harvey Oswald alone. Now, people look at me like I'm crazy, right? So I'm the conspiracy theorist. I'm the nut. I'm the tinfoil hat guy. I haven't moved on this, but the American public, as time has gone on, has decidedly moved on the issue. It was never a straight up like 80-20 issue, but it was, 60-40, 60 or 65-35. The majority leaning toward Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone, the lone assassin theory. But as time has gone on, I mean, the world has shifted, and nowadays we are talking it's 80-20 the other way. If you find 20% of people in any given poll that believe that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone, you're doing pretty good. Most people believe that the CIA was involved, or the communists were involved, the Cubans, but I repeat myself. Some would suggest that Lyndon Baines Johnson was involved. Some would tell you that the mafia was involved. And, of course, thank you to Oliver Stone, some people believe that all of those entities were involved together to kill him. Because what Oliver Stone did in JFK, and I watched JFK when I was in college, and it pissed me off. I mean, I was mad at the government. I was mad at the world. I was mad at the military-industrial complex. I was mad at the communists. I was mad at Johnson. I was mad at all of them because all of them had something to do with John F. Kennedy being assassinated. But there's a scene, the most impactful scene, I think, in the opinions of the American people regarding John F. Kennedy was that scene between Kevin Costner and Donald Sutherland in the park. If y'all ever seen JFK, you know what the scene, where Donald Sutherland starts talking to him about how in the hell the world got all of the information that they got so quickly as they got it. And he walked through with Costner, who played Jim Garrison, some of the questions that he should be asking himself and he should be asking other people regarding how all of this conveniently happened in the way that it happened. And it was masterful storytelling, and I would suggest to you that that's exactly what it was, storytelling. But if you go to the have you ever been, Weber?
I have not.
Weaver, have you ever been to Dallas, Texas?
Been to Dallas, Texas several times.
You ever been to Dealey Plaza?
No, not that I know of.
Mm-hmm. It's a fascinating place. The one question that I have, and maybe they didn't think of it, is why in the world they decided to take that hard right and then that really hard left. It put them in a very awkward and exposed situation. But at the same time, we're dealing at a time and place where they thought it was okay for the president to just do a motorcade down a street with rando people standing on the sidewalk with no top on his car. He's in a convertible, for goodness sake. But I'll never forget, I think I've told this story in front of you before, Chris, where we were up on the 6th floor, and they have a museum up there, and they have a replica of what they call the sniper's nest, the book boxes in the book depository as they were positioned, and the window as it was opened at the time that the fateful shot rang out from the 6th floor. And you can look down on the street, and they have an X on the street that was originally put there during the Warren Commission as to the fatal shot, the one that, we've all seen now in the Zapruder film. But there was a couple in front. It was Erica and myself. And we were kind of waiting in line to get in position, to see it. And to see, what his vantage point would have been. And an older couple in line in front of us. And we were there in the middle of summer. And there's some beautiful trees, like oak-type trees. I don't know exactly whether they were white oak or whatever. Beautiful trees along the street on Dealey Plaza. And this is probably, I don't know, 2000, 2005, somewhere in that zone. And the guy was like, well, this is ridiculous. He heard him say this. This is ridiculous. And his wife said, what? He goes, well, there's no way he could get that shot off through all these trees. And she said, I don't think the trees were there 40 years ago, idiot. And he went, oh, yeah. And then she added, plus it was November. I don't think there's any leaves on the trees. Oh, yeah. And they just kind of walked on. We just kind of looked at each other like, just leave it alone. Leave it be. Let's see what Jamie has to say about it. What's up, Jamie? How are you?
I'm doing fine. I'm part of the homeschool group that still will call you.
Oh, Jamie, I love homeschoolers. My position is not anti-homeschool. You know that.
I know.
Okay,
I know.
good.
I just wanted to call and tell you something interesting. I was just a baby when JFK was shot, but my dad was coming home from Chicago, driving from Chicago to Baton Rouge. And he said that up ahead, all the cars were pulled off the interstate. So they turned on the phone, turned on the radio. And when they heard the announcement, he said for a good 45 minutes, nobody was on the interstate.
Everyone had pulled over?
Yeah, everybody had pulled over.
Wow.
Which I thought that was pretty interesting. He said for at least 45 minutes that there were no cars driving.
I hesitate to even imagine what the world would have been like if things had happened a little bit differently in Butler, Pennsylvania last summer.
Right.
But I can't. You were just a little bitty baby, you said, Jamie?
Yeah, I was I think I was a year and a half.
Oh, okay. So you couldn't remember it. But when you talk about the people that, really can remember it, whether they were in school or in their early, 20s, and just the amount of uncertainty, it had to be similar to 9/11, I would think.
Yeah, I think it almost would have been, not more impactful because obviously 9/11 there were many more deaths. But my dad said he can just remember he looked at his business partner and said the world will never be the same.
Well, that's certainly true. It is a fact that everything changed with regard to how we treat the presidency, and who knows what life would have been like. I think it's easy to say that JFK would have gone on in his presidency to win re-election, to do great things, to be a fabulous president. I don't know. I mean, I don't think we know the answer to that. Would we have gotten into Vietnam in the manner that we did? I don't know. I think that it leads itself to some interesting conversation about what the world would have been like if Kennedy had survived.
Yep. So just wanted to put in my 2 cents. I've always thought that was interesting.
That was worth at least a dime, Jamie. Come on. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
All right, take care. 52 after the hour. We'll get a few more in a moment. We'll also talk to Courtney Johnston in just a couple of seconds. The release of 80,000 pages on JFK. Apparently, the complete JFK files have now been dumped to the American people, and I don't think we're going to learn anything new. I think the conspiracy theories will still be out there. Those that want to choose to believe that there's something else going on will continue to believe that there's something else going on. They'll simply say that over the last 60 years, people have, eliminated any and all information that would have indicated what really happened. I mean, that's what's going to happen, right? There's never going to be a satisfactory answer because people have decided that they know what happened. You, if you agree with them, know too. If you disagree, then you don't really know. You don't get it. Your eyes are not wide open. 53 after the hour on Super Talk. Hello, friends. Let's talk about Grace Point Healthcare for just a moment. They just do it a little bit of a different way over at Grace Point, and I think this way completely benefits you, their customer, that they truly treat like family. Let's start with this. They are a direct pay healthcare provider. What does that mean? That means that decisions are made by you and the medical staff and not the insurance company that, frankly speaking, in the modern era has way too much influence in the relationship between you and your doctor. Not so at Grace Point Healthcare. Whether you're paying by the visit or enrolling in their Smart Care plan, you're always going to know that you get exceptional care at the lowest possible price, and you know exactly what that price is. I had someone say to me that healthcare is one of the few things that we do in life where we don't really know what we're paying up front. That's not the case at Grace Point Healthcare. It's why they call themselves modern medicine delivered the old-fashioned way. The basic Smart Care plan is just $69 a month. It includes free office visits for the entire length of your Smart Care plan, plus annual basic labs and diagnostic testing. There's no wait times at Grace Point Healthcare. Oftentimes you get in same day or next day, even for brand new patients. And they'll treat the entire family. They'll even come to your house if you're too sick to get to Grace Point. Located in the heart of Franklin, what a great organization, what a great group of people, and I'm excited that you're going to get a chance to meet them. 599-6868 to schedule your next appointment to Grace Point Healthcare. 599-6868. Grace Point Healthcare, modern medicine delivered the old-fashioned way.
4 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. A bill to stock Tennessee high schools with feminine products, one step closer to law. Channel 4's Dryden Quigley says this law would give female students free access to pads and tampons.
The bill is sponsored by Representative Elaine Davis, who tried to pass a similar bill last year. It failed from lack of funding. This year, she's trying again. Davis says it's important because right now the state taxes period products as non-essential luxury items, which means that many public assistance programs won't pay for them. She says that leaves some girls with nowhere to turn.
So if they have an emergency or if they just don't have the ability to purchase those products for themselves, they're there. So that way that gives them some dignity and also just keeps them in the classroom.
Interest rates staying right where they're at for now. Fed Chair Jerome Powell said while inflation's under control, they have opted to take a more wait-and-see approach regarding interest rates.
At today's meeting, the committee decided to maintain the target range for the federal funds rate at 4.25% to 4.5%.
Deportation flights fight. The White House pushing back on a D.C.-based federal judge, giving the Trump administration one more day to provide information on why they didn't turn around 2 planes with alleged Venezuelan gang members on Saturday.
We don't have any flights planned specifically, but we will continue with the mass deportations. And I would just like to point out that the judge in this case is essentially trying to say that the president doesn't have the executive authority to deport foreign terrorists from our American soil.
Judge James Boasberg says he now needs to determine whether his orders have been deliberately flouted and, quote, what the consequences should be. The White House says President Trump's now suggesting the U.S. help run Ukraine's nuclear power plants, moving beyond just a minerals deal in negotiations to try to bring an end to the war with Russia. Selena Wang reports President Trump and Ukraine President Zelensky spoke for an hour today.
There are some signs that there is a repairing of relations between U.S. and Ukrainian teams after that disastrous Oval Office meeting just a few weeks ago. The White House says that they're going to continue to share intelligence with Ukraine and also that they're going to help find air defense systems for Ukraine. Now, that's significant because remember, there was that temporary pause in military and intelligence sharing.
Israel has begun a new ground campaign in Gaza after resuming airstrikes because Hamas refuses to release all of the hostages. We're hearing from a doctor volunteering at Khan Yunis Hospital in Gaza. Talks about the condition of some of the people that they're seeing after those airstrikes.
People are coming in hungry, thirsty. There's no clean water anymore because Israel cut the water and electric supply, so the desalination plants can't even work. And that leads to the problems with human health that you can imagine. Kids have gastroenteritis all the time. We actually had a woman's heart stop in the ICU because her gastroenteritis was so bad that we couldn't keep up with her fluid requirements.
That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Brake tapping going on, especially if you are eastbound 24 out of the downtown area. It looks like you might have something getting your way by the time you get to Haywood Lane. Got the off-ramp backed up eastbound. Actually, that's going to be westbound 24 to Haywood Lane, but going eastbound on 24, it's looking like brake tapping, that is, all the way beyond Bell Road. Northbound 65 is starting to back up, trying to get up there to 40. Same way with northbound 65 to go east on 440 to get over to the 2440 Eastern Split. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Matt Murphy, and we're cranking up hour number 2 of our visit together on this Wednesday, March 19. Thank you for being with us, whatever platform you're watching or listening on. Of course, there's Talk TV going on. More on that in a moment. We've got YouTube, Facebook. Oh, well, no, that's Talk TV. Let's do the radio side of things, 99.7 FM. I'm a little discombobulated because apparently something secretive is going on in the other room that I don't get to know about. At least that's what happens normally in my life when curtains start going up. I like it. I like
on a need-to-know basis, Murphy.
And
you just don't need to know.
Clearly, I don't need to know. You need to know this, though. If you want to take us wherever you go on your smartphone, all you have to do is download our app. That is on Supertalk 99.7 WTN on any app platform of your choosing. You can also find us anywhere, like Spotify or iHeart, wherever you go. There we are. And, of course, the aforementioned Talk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. Several of you are still on hold on the JFK conspiracy stuff. I'm going to get to your telephone calls because I'm going to make my next guest to talk to me about JFK before we talk about depressing things like the state of affairs in the city of Nashville. She is a good friend of the show. It's fun to have her back. I just learned her nickname that I will now forever more call her. Which is Cujo. Do I have that right? Is it Cujo?
Oh, my gosh.
Courtney Johnston joins us on the show, Metro City Council. Is it Cujo? I thought you said it was
Cujo.
Oh, Cujo.
Who is Stop.
Cujo? You don't know Cujo?
No, I must be too young for that.
Oh, I see what you did there, huh? Cujo was the dog in the Stephen King book. Cujo?
That stuff scared me.
Like Cujo was, it's a book. It's a great book. Back when I actually advocated for and liked Stephen King before he went off the rails. But it's about a St. Bernard that goes rabid.
Oh.
And, I mean, it's literally a book surrounding a woman and her son in a car trying to avoid a rabid dog and their car's broken down. It's a great book. Great book. Cujo. Rabid St. Bernard.
I'll just take your word for it. But anyway.
But you're not rabid, nor are you a St. Bernard, so you are Cujo.
I'm Cujo. Yeah. My friend's son gave me that nickname.
I think it fits.
I know. Right?
How's it going?
Great.
You had a Metro Council meeting. You were. I told Tales Out of School, I think. I said that a guest that I have on today was a little annoyed that she couldn't attend the Davidson County Reagan dinner because it was scheduled on the same night as it.
Yeah, that was me.
Well, but I give them, I know it was you. I give them a little grace because it's easy to forget that they're actually Republicans of the Metro Nashville City Council.
Okay.
Is that fair?
No.
Are you mad at them?
I mean, I'm a little irritated.
I don't blame you.
I would have been there. I would have bought a table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We would have loved to have seen you.
I know. I would have really enjoyed it. And it was a great venue as well. Woolworth Theater, right?
The Woolworth Theater,
Yeah.
the first time I've been, and that is a fabulous place.
It really is.
And I've seen these. We had a great conversation around our table 13, which was appropriate.
I was about to say.
A great conversation around our table. Pamela Furr was there. There were a few others there. Mark Pody, Senator Pody was there, and we were talking. There's a theatrical production that goes on in the Woolworth. Do you know what I'm talking about? Called The Shiners.
No.
And I've seen advertisements about it, and I always thought it was The Shriners.
Oh, very probably different.
The Shiners involves moonshining
Oh.
in the Old South. The Shriners, very different.
But yeah.
With the little fez and the
Yes, and with
and
the
little
children.
clown cars and
Yeah.
right. And Shriners Convention and
Very
Ray Stevens.
different.
Yeah, different thing. Any JFK conspiracy theories?
No. I mean, I did just learn, though, of course, this is JFK Jr., so my husband's a pilot, and we were talking about, JFK Jr., he crashed the plane. There was like 15 things that he did wrong. He should have never been flying the plane in the first place. I'm not going to go into it. But I had no idea that their bodies were never recovered from that. The fuselage was.
I'm today old knowing that. I did not know.
I know. And so I might need to be fact checked because I thought that was strange that I didn't know that. But they were very 100% certain that their bodies had never been recovered from that. And I thought that was a little strange.
I mean,
it's possible.
I suppose that's odd, but I mean, if the bodies were separated from the plane, probably easier to find the plane, and then the bodies are organic material. And
supposedly he was hell bent and determined to fly that night. His foot was in a boot. He had never flown. He was not IFR rated.
So instrument
rated, right? And the weather was bad. His instructor offered to come. He's like, no, I'm going to do this one on my own. It's like, I wonder if he's just on an island somewhere.
Oh, he just disappeared?
Yeah, maybe that's a conspiracy, right? Am I just creating one?
No, I mean, that
may as well pile it on.
I mean, sure. I mean, I would be willing to guarantee you, if it is a fact that their bodies were never found, it is equally a fact that there's a conspiracy theory that he's still alive.
Yeah.
I mean, there's one Elvis.
Maybe somebody listening right now can text us and let us. They can do the fact checking for me.
Yeah, no, guaranteed it's already happening.
Okay, perfect.
Super text line up and running 615-737-9986.
We need to know, where's JFK Jr.
Before we get to talking about depressing things like Nashville, Kelly has a theory on JFK. Hello, Kelly.
Hey, thank you, Matt. I appreciate this, and I'm real excited you let Kojo go first because she's going to add to my theory on this. So, real quick, I'm not a believer in coincidences, and you've got two brothers that were both assassinated, so there's just a coincidence there. MLK also. I believe the Kennedys, MLK was definitely making waves, and the Democratic Party has always been the party of racism through history. And people were not excited about this. I believe the Kennedys were going to make the civil rights laws pass, and they were actually going to do it and believe in it. And that would not sit well with the Democrat Party. But because Kennedy himself has so many skeletons in his closet as a playboy and with gambling, et cetera, it was just the perfect storm. But I think if you were to step back, the coincidences of both Kennedys being assassinated, Martin Luther King being assassinated, and then the person that, of course, LBJ, that does get recognized for all of this, just steps right into it. I think if you look at what the Democrats just did to Biden and threw him off to the side as soon as they were done, shows that that party has always been run by the deep state. And if they don't like something, they just discard it completely. So I'm going to stick with the CIA, and that they went ahead and coronated LBJ just as they coronated Kamala Harris.
Well, maybe the CIA, maybe the military-industrial complex, because LBJ was more consistently aligned with the idea that they wanted to involve themselves in the Vietnam War, and they felt like Kennedy wasn't. I've heard that too.
Right.
Right. Kelly, you catch me. Here's the thing. Whether it's MLK, JFK, Marilyn Monroe, 9/11, JFK Jr., whatever, you catch me at a good time in my life, Kelly, because there was a time where I was a conspiracy theory killer, right? I would come at these conspiracy theories because I'm kind of a believer in Occam's razor, that the straightest line of intellectual thought is oftentimes the one that connects. But I'll tell you what changed all of that for me, and it was COVID. COVID changed all of that for me. There is nothing that I would not be willing to entertain in terms of believing that our government would do.
And it's the same people. Hate to say it, but if you look back at all these, just too much coincidence, and you can, just like Miss Courtney Johnston has just brought to the table, you can start to open that one. But, I look at a family. How many people do you know that have been assassinated? Okay, well, how many people do you know who was assassinated and his brother was assassinated? And how many people do you know who was assassinated, his brother was assassinated, was working with another guy who got assassinated? So just that alone allows me to step back and say, we know for a fact Oswald didn't kill all three of them, and he definitely had nothing to do with JFK Jr. So that's where I would sit. And it's nice to see you at this time, Mr. Murphy. I think this is a really good time slot for you.
Well, thank you, Kelly.
You're welcome.
You're very sweet. I appreciate the call. You call back anytime. I love that. Now, see, if you yell and scream at me, I don't tell you to call back anytime. I mean, but heck, Kojo and I yelled screamed at one another the first time we got together. And
I think that was very one-sided, actually.
No, I remember it differently.
I'm sure you do.
We've made friends. By the way, we've got a lot of reaction to your the bodies. We're being told that the bodies were not found and the bodies were found, which is great.
So both.
Which is great.
Okay.
The consensus is that the bodies were recovered, but they were in such, bad shape that it was decided just to bury them at sea.
What?
I don't know. I'm repeating what 2277 said. Bodies were found. Bodies were recovered. He's alive in another dimension.
I told you. Oh, my goodness.
If you've ever flown a plane at night, it's super easy. Is your husband instrument rated?
He is.
So have you flown with him at night?
A lot.
And I'm told that it's easy to get turned around, especially when you're away from cities and you can't have points of reference.
Well, absolutely. And so you have to trust your instruments. You cannot trust. So we flew over the weekend. We had a celebration of life and we were flying and had to fly into the clouds. I personally do not like flying into the clouds when I'm sitting in the co-pilot seat because the clouds come at you. So it's a strange feeling.
You feel like they're going to hit you?
Well, it's just a weird sensation. And then when you can't see anything, but you see the clouds, constantly going, it's very disorienting. So just to make me feel better, I look at the instruments to make sure that we're still level, we're maintaining altitude, attitude, all of that. Because if I just look, I'll feel like, oh God, where are we going?
You're not doing that female co-pilot thing, are you?
Oh no, no. I will do it in the car with my husband all day,
kidding.
Every day, but I keep my mouth shut with piloting because I don't know. And so I'm good at being quiet.
Jim has written in and says, way to go, Murphy. You've now compared the lovely Courtney Johnston to Cujo. Good job.
A rabid dog.
Oh, well, I mean, Kojo.
So rude.
Kojo. It's like Hojo. Like the old Howard Johnson.
You're making it worse.
I will continue to make it worse in a moment. Take a short time out, try to repair all of this. And we will actually get into, last night was a city council meeting, right?
All night long.
I'm certain we got Fuses taken care of, LPR's on the way, National Fairgrounds Speedway taken care of.
Yes, we are on the straight and narrow.
And no new taxes, right?
All of that.
If Courtney Johnston was in charge, that would be a reality. Sadly, there's a majority involved, and we'll tell you the real deal coming up in just a moment on Super Talk. My good friend Brink Fiddler and Defend Systems want you to call them, especially if you're a decision maker in a school, in a church, or at a place of business. They take care of so many different types of facilities. They are a life safety and security consultation firm. They specialize in schools. corporations, healthcare facilities, law firms, manufacturing facilities, corporate headquarters, entertainment venues, even country music tours. Any place where you have large amounts of people gathering and you need security expertise, they take care of you at Defend Systems. Cumulus Nashville utilized this training program for our own staff and personnel. It's where I met Brink. It's why I'm so impressed with what he does. I've taken multiple classes from him to include the TECC course, which is a 2-day course, and I know this guy knows his business and he hires people that do. And he can assist you with active shooter response, workplace violence prevention, site surveys and threat assessments, emergency and intruder action plans. Multiple school systems around Middle Tennessee utilize Defend Systems. You should as well. Go to defendsystems.com, defendsystems.com to find out more. Schedule an appointment today by calling 615-236-6484, 236-6484. And while you're looking around the web, go by GodFearingGunOwners.com. That is also owned by Brink Fiddler, his apparel company. Great gear over there, GodFearingGunOwners.com or DefendSystems.com.
For many of us, generators are becoming a must-have household appliance. From unpredictable weather to surprise outages, it's better to be safe than sorry. Generator Supercenter of Nashville offers fast and easy installations with 24/7 service and monitoring to all brands of generators and expert repairs done right. Our mission is to make owning a backup generator simple and easy. Visit your local store today or check us out online. Generator Supercenter of Nashville. We serve all Middle Tennessee.
Free feminine products in Tennessee high schools, interest rates, and deportation flights fight update. All this and more at 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Matt Murphy, and I thank you for being a part of the Matt Murphy Show. I wish I could say the same for Courtney Johnston. I wish I could say I'm glad that Courtney's here, but I'm not, because she, you know what? And it's not her fault. It's not your fault. You're just telling me the real deal.
Yeah.
You know, during the break, we were talking about some things going on with the council, and it's infuriating. I can't imagine doing what you do.
I tell people a lot, I'm like, my goal is to not have a stroke.
So we may as well talk a little about this first because we got Fusus on the line. We got LPRs on the line. We need to talk about tax increases. But real quick, because I don't want to belabor it, it has been a passion project of mine to continue to talk about the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway, the incredible offer that is on the table through Bristol Motor Speedway and their parent company, the opportunity to have them invest some, $130 million, something like that.
It's a large investment.
A large amount of money into revitalizing Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway, into bringing it back up to what it was at one time.
Better.
To make it viable. Because frankly, without investment in that property, it will die.
Well, it's already costing taxpayers each year about $2 million because it's falling apart. And in my opinion, there's been multiple administrations that have purposely allowed it to just get dilapidated. And there's some people that would say that it's not safe to race there. It is a charter protected use.
Thank goodness.
The state gave us that land with certain parameters. And so it is a historical racetrack. It predates Metro. For sure. It started off as a horse track.
In like 1904.
Yes. And so, we just had this large debate around the Historical Commission and the Historical Zoning Commission and moving it under planning and how important historical preservation is, yada, yada, yada. But then when it comes to the racetrack, but we don't want the racetrack. It's like, so you want historical preservation for just the stuff that you like? I mean, that's not historical preservation. Right. So again, talking out of both sides of our mouths. But Bristol is offering an incredible investment into that the taxpayers would not have to backstop, which typically we do. Our revenue bonds, there's no loss for it. It would turn out to be a revenue producing at that point. Sound barriers, making it much more amenable to the community around there that lives around there as far as sound and things like that. It is a win-win for everyone. And
unless you want to destroy the racetrack. I mean, the only argument against doing this deal, in my opinion, as I understand the deal, as you've just described it, there's no additional tax dollars going. As a matter of fact, you would see fewer tax dollars going to that facility that are currently going to it. It's
and
a
sales
charter,
tax revenue would
and you would obviously have the benefit. I think it would add the only argument you could make from a neighborhood perspective is that the sound abatement would get better. It would add, I think, one weekend a year.
Right.
It's currently 9. It would add an additional weekend.
Correct.
But you would have a NASCAR race coming into town, and that's going to draw in an incredible amount of revenue. I think it would, generally speaking, encourage business opportunity around that community. It would grow that community in a way that you need to add to what Geodis Park has already done. In my opinion, the only reason you're against this is you would just as soon the racetrack go away.
I mean, I'm sure we'll hear what these arguments are if this is ever presented to us. It'll be interesting. I mean, we
Colby Sledge was always against it, right? Is that fair?
Yes.
To say, and he's now with the mayor's office.
No, Colby is not.
Okay, maybe I have my
You're thinking.
I have my minions mixed.
You're thinking of Dave Rosenberg. I think. Cole. I don't know what Colby's doing. I think he's on a board or commission, but he's not with the mayor's office.
And he slow walked the public hearing on it. I know that, and then eventually they had, ironically enough, the public hearing in Geodis Park about a year and a half ago or whatever it was. Wildly popular idea to do this renovation. But the elephant in the room is John Ingram and the John Ingram, who's the majority owner of the Geodis Park Soccer Club, et cetera, who publicly has stated in the past that he has no problem with the Speedway's existence. But everything I hear is that John Ingram is pushing the mayor to kill the Bristol deal. That's everything that I hear. Are you hearing the same things?
I've never talked with, I have a lot of respect for John Ingram, I have to say, and I've never spoken with him about this particular subject. Certainly there's rumors swirling around. It's a rumor is a rumor. So unless I can verify it, I'm not going to certainly say anything on air. And so I can't speak to that. I don't know.
My fear and my frustration, and you and I spoke about this off air, and I'll share it with the audience, is that I haven't been around Nashville as long as so many of you, but every community I've been in, if you talk to the community as I do, you will hear people talk to you about the things they wish they had fought to save. And every community's got them, whether it's Opryland or another historical place here in Nashville. If you've lived in Nashville for a long time, you know the places that we're talking about. And this is going to be another one if we don't fight to save it. If we don't fight to do and maybe people don't want to save it. I don't know. Maybe you want it to be a parking lot or more condos for John and his soccer team. I don't know. But,
I don't know. Again, it's a charter protected use. And so in order to remove that use, the charter will have to be amended, which is only done by referendum. And so that's we'll see.
But see, and all of that, in my opinion, and I know we've got to get to news, all of that is designed. They're trying to slow walk it, whether it's slow walking the public meeting, slow walking presentation in front of the guy. Now they're saying, well, we need public input. You had public input a year ago, but you've slow walked it so long. Now you can go back and do it all over again. The idea is to slow walk it long enough where Bristol finally says, to hell with it, we're out. And then you don't have to worry about it anymore. And guess who gets their way? The powerful interests that want to bulldoze the place. That's who gets their way. 32 after the hour on Super Talk.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories, tracking the potential for severe weather tonight. I do know that there is a tornado watch in effect for Kentucky counties all the way to the Tennessee state line until 11 o'clock. Full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. A bill is advancing in the General Assembly that would stock Tennessee high schools with feminine products, which girls could access free of charge. Knoxville Republican State Rep Elaine Davis is the sponsor and tells Channel 4.
So if they have an emergency or if they just don't have the ability to purchase those products for themselves, they're there. So that way that gives them some dignity and also just keeps them in the classroom.
Federal Reserve has voted to keep interest rates where they are for now, citing in part the possibility for a short-term rise in prices later this year due to the Trump administration's tariff policies. Fed Chair Jerome Powell said that while inflation is under control now, they have opted to take a more wait-and-see approach regarding interest rates.
Inflation has eased significantly over the past 2 years, but remains somewhat elevated relative to our 2% longer-run goal.
Deportation flights fight. The White House pushing back after a federal judge gave the Trump administration one more day to provide information about why 2 planes with alleged Venezuelan gang members were not returned last weekend.
The president has made it clear that he believes this judge in this case should be impeached, and he has also made it clear that he has great respect for the Chief Justice John Roberts, and it's incumbent upon the Supreme Court to rein in these activist judges.
Here's Devin Dwyer with more.
The government hasn't provided any information, names, evidence of the allegations. Most of them, they said, did not have criminal records even. So on what basis were these people removed involuntarily, not back to Venezuela, but to a third country, far away from lawyers or their families? Maybe that was legitimate, maybe not. We don't know, and that's what this judge is trying to find out.
That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, got a crash now. Several vehicles involved. It's eastbound at 24 right there at 440. It looks like the left lane is blocked, and so is the left shoulder. Elsewhere, we've got a disabled vehicle, Briley Parkway northbound. It's going to be at mile marker 23. The northbound right lane of 2 lanes is blocked. So is the right shoulder. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, fellas, and well, you ladies listen up too, because if you've noticed your fella has lost a step or two, if you find that maybe you're not intimate in the same fashion that you used to be in the bedroom, right? I mean, or maybe you're not going to the gym, you're not going on a hike like you used to because your man doesn't have the energy that he once had. Tennessee Men's Clinic is for your guy because they deal with energy levels in men, and those levels naturally decrease over time and as you age. You don't have to deal with this, though, men. If your T levels are going down, do you know it? Do you know your numbers? I mean, do you understand what that means? Because if you don't know your T level numbers and they have decreased and they've gotten to a lower than normal level, that could be the reason why you've lost energy, why you don't want to go to the gym, you don't want to go on the hike, or the intimacy levels, you just can't perform in the fashion that you once did. It's time to get with Tennessee Men's Clinic. Go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. 2 locations, one in Franklin, the original location in Midtown. Call them today. Schedule that appointment. So many have done so, and so many are happy that they did. 615-208-9090. 208-9090. Here are a few facts about the organization that I so believe in called Men of Valor. In 2024 alone, Men of Valor ministered over 3,000 men in the prison system. Did you know, here's a statistic, that 90% plus of people in prison get out, men in prison get out. The army of staff and volunteers, the ministry that is Men of Valor, speaks directly to the incarcerated by way of Bible study, discipleship group, chapel study, concerts, classes on manhood, one-on-one mentoring. Men of Valor helps lower recidivism. And in effect, they lower your tax rates that you pay to put people in prison because there are fewer people going into the prison system as a result of Men of Valor. How about that? Plus, the idea of bringing these men to good lives that believe, a believer's lifestyle that helps benefit our community. You become a benefit as opposed to a net negative in your giving community. Are you willing to give? MOVministry.com is the way to do it. MOVministry.com. And don't forget about our incredible breakfast coming up March 26th. Tomorrow and Friday, we'll be giving away seats to my table at Men of Valor. We'll tell you more about that tomorrow and Friday. Go to MOVministry.com. The general consensus on the Matt Murphy Super Text line this Wednesday afternoon, March 19, 4:39 in the p.m. Central Time, Middle Tennessee time, is that Hillary Clinton killed JFK Jr. So there you go. I think we've solved that. I'm not even kidding.
Oh, my gosh.
That they did not want, Hillary and Bill did not want, this is the conspiracy theory. You ready? Mm-hmm. They did not want JFK Jr. running against her in the United States Senate in New York. She needed to clear out the field. And what a better way of doing that than...
Right.
Huh?
Well, it's as good as any.
Sure. And then there's the redheaded stranger, Pamela Furr, passing off this fake news that autopsies were performed on the bodies. Whatever, Furr. Whatever. Fake news.
I hope that that's the case because I would hate that for their families to not have that type of closure.
Let's talk about some other matters. Obviously, the Fairground Speedway is near and dear to my heart. I hope that it comes up for a vote. I hope that the council sees better. I'm not hopeful that we are going to see anything move on that. What other options are there? If we can't get it before the council, if Freddie won't push this, if he won't utilize, the power that he has and influence maybe over some of these fellow council members or his position as mayor, I mean, I know you're all in on it. What other options do we have?
Well, to do anything there, we have to allocate dollars. That has to be voted on by the council. I don't know where that would stand depending on what they would try to do. If you're demolishing the speedway in any way, the vote threshold is increased to 27 required votes. So that makes it a little bit more difficult. Again, if you change the use away from a speedway, then the charter will have to be amended. And like I said, that has to go to referendum, and that's a heavy lift.
It's a vote of the people, right?
The vote of the people,
right,
yeah.
sure.
And in 2017, and somebody could probably correct me if I'm wrong, they did have a referendum, and it was voted overwhelmingly in favor
71%,
of
something like that?
Yeah. So, what would that be now? 8 years later, with an influx of new people and new ideas, and not necessarily interested in our history and stuff. Who knows? But it makes me nervous to think about a referendum. So
I would love, and it is easy to talk. I mean, I hear so many things. I hear very different opinions about John Ingram and his influence over this process. And I just encourage, if you know Ingram, if you're anywhere near his orbit, I understand that this is a multi-gajillionaire and he's got better things, but I would love to sit down with him and just talk to him about, one, what he's done with Geodis Park, what he's done to help benefit the community there, what he's done generally and broadly in Metro Nashville, and secondarily, what his position is on all of this, because I do feel like he has tremendous influence as to where this goes next. Because what I hear, no matter who's talking to me, friend or foe, they tell me that he has his eyes on that property. And, I would love to hear from him if that's true or not.
Yeah, I have no idea. He's a smart man, and I know that if they put their heads together, they could figure it out. So I'm hoping that will happen.
Yeah, I do too. Talk to me about Fusus technology. It exists. It's available. We could do this. Are we going to do it? Was there a conversation? What's going on?
Yeah. So the policy around which we can use technology like Fusus passed last night. The guardrails policy. I was told that third reading of the policy and the contract, which is a one reading resolution, would happen on the same night. I got the agenda. The third reading of the policy was there, but the contract was not. So I don't know when that is going to come. So right now we have a policy around it, but we still have not approved Fusus. That's a whole nother vote. When will that come? That's in the mayor's hands. I know that he's going to wait to see what happens with Fusus, to see what's going to happen with LPRs. We're going into budget season. He's going to present his budget before the end of next month, and then we are officially in budget season. I very seriously doubt that anything controversial will be introduced in that time period. We typically try to leave that to where we're focused 100% on the budget for those few months. And so it's very, very frustrating. We had a whole year and a half delay based off of Choose How You Move, because nothing happened until that was voted on. And so here we are with this backlog of things, specifically around public safety, that have not been tended to. And then there's always a reason to delay something, right? It's, now this has happened. Well, now we got budget. Now we got this.
It occurs to me, Freddie comes in here and, he talks. I mean, he's been fairly open about how he does things. And he tells me this all the time, too. Well, we need to deal with this before we deal with that. We need to deal with transit tax before we talk about property tax. We need to deal with Fusus before we talk about LPRs.
Which is a personal choice and arbitrary.
Well, we need to figure out, I need to focus on this thing before I can even think about the Fairground Speedway. And I'm like, you're mayor of a major city in the United States of America. Can you not do more than one thing at once? Can you not think about more than one thing at once? I mean, it's getting a little frustrating, and it's almost as if he's just putting this crap off. Tell me I'm wrong, Courtney.
I can't tell you you're wrong, Matt. I mean, I've been frustrated with it.
What is that? What exactly does LPRs have? I mean, I know I'm yelling at the wrong person, and y'all understand, right? Courtney is a Metro City councilor, and she's one of the good ones. And there's 3? I don't know. Anyway, but maybe 4. She's one of the good ones, and she's one of the few that will actually speak to the people of Davidson County on an open forum like this. My question then is, what does Fusus have to do with LPRs?
Nothing.
Right.
Nothing except for that it seems to be less controversial than LPRs, and so that's sort of the litmus test, or that's what I'm thinking that the mayor is thinking, is that FUSIS is the litmus test, and so if FUSIS passes, then there's a path forward for LPRs. But if FUSIS doesn't pass, I don't know that we'll ever even see an LPR contract, which, by the way, have been and still are ready to go. I mean, they could be filed for this next agenda on April the 1st. So again, I mean, like I said, my ordinance allowing LPRs passed in 2022. This is how long I've been fighting about this. It started in 2021.
And by the way, is it not wildly successful in other communities?
Everywhere else.
Mount Juliet is.
They catch our criminals all the time.
They're catching folks from Nashville all the time.
And their frustration level is increasing because they're having to deal with our stuff that we should be able to deal with on our own. So, yeah, I mean, there's nothing else to say except that it's incredibly frustrating. And, last night there were some things that were said that I think some votes were flipped on FUSIS because of the quote unquote current climate. And they're very concerned about the immigration enforcement and deportations and things like that. And what they're failing to understand is that none of these cameras are ours. They are all privately owned cameras. We don't hold any data. There is no data for ICE to come knocking for. We don't hold that. And if ICE wants the data, if ICE wants what's on these cameras, they're going to go to the camera owners. Just like they can right now.
Well, right.
With or without FUSIS.
Right. FUSIS simply, it streamlines the system.
Right.
And makes it more efficient to catch criminals better and faster.
It expedites investigations, and it makes more efficient response to active scenes.
The idea is that we would have caught, Megan Barry a lot quicker at City Cemetery if we had the FUSIS. What?
Jeez.
It's true. Fourth Avenue. I know who.
I know you do.
I mean, but they just sliding in there at 5 o'clock in the morning. Well, don't. What? I'm already accused. Bob's accusing me of cutting you off. Do you feel like I'm cutting you off? I don't want to do that.
I'm probably cutting you off as much.
No. We're just having a conversation.
Yeah, right.
Property taxes.
Yep.
So the last time we had the mayor on, and, it takes a month of Sundays to get him to schedule, but he comes on, to his credit, and I appreciate Freddie coming on. He had a very interesting answer to the question. He said, because transit tax was done, right, done deal. And he said, well, it's a property tax reassessment year, and that's the time to look at these types of things, Matt. That was his answer regarding my question as to whether or not property taxes are going up. Do you believe that there will be a property tax increase proposal?
100%.
When? What is the expectation? Tell me how that would work, how that would look functionally.
I'm not exactly sure how to answer your question because I'm not sure what the question is. So,
that comes before the council, right?
So the mayor presents his budget or hers, and the council contemplates that, and they can either amend the budget or substitute the budget. If the substitute budget that the council comes up with does not pass, then the mayor's budget goes into effect automatically.
Okay.
And so if the mayor presents a property tax increase, the only way to get away from that is for the council to figure out where that revenue that the property tax increase would bring in could come from, a different source of revenue, or to cut expenses in order to not need that extra revenue. It's usually a large number. The council, just the way that we're set up, it's like a $3.5 billion budget at this point, right? So we affect that budget 1-2%. I mean, it's just very, very small. And the way that we do it is we rob Peter to pay Paul, because unless we're willing to increase revenue in some way, that's the only way to do it, is to rob Peter to pay Paul. So that's why we don't have a whole lot of influence over.
Because you can't get enough people on the council to be convinced that, shedding waste or cutting the budget is kind of a non-starter with this council. Is that fair?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, and quite frankly, I think that it's necessary. I mean, we just in 2020 raised Cooper's budget was a 32% increase, and we actually, or the council, I voted against it, but they voted to increase to 34%. That's where the 34 came in. Cooper was 32.
And I'm sure John Cooper was like, I tried to save y'all money.
Yeah, well,
right.
So yeah, but
because that's what they do.
Because we've got all these people coming in, special interest. This group wants a raise. This group wants funded for their programming, yada yada. And so that's where they start. Well, who's asking for what, and who do I want to give? Say yes to.
So he throws out a property tax increase included in his budget proposal.
Correct.
Just so I have this right. And then y'all have to override his budget with your own.
Yes.
If you're going to get something different.
Yes.
And
because what he's going to say is if he adds in let's say it's a 10% property tax increase, whatever, let's say that's $100 million. It's not, it's more than that, but let's say it's $100 million. His budget has to balance. So his revenue equals his expenses. And so in order for us to change that, we either have to reduce the revenue down, we also have to reduce expenses down, meaning
so
we have to cut.
If you don't do that property tax increase,
right,
you got to figure out where that money comes from.
Right. So we have to make cuts or find an alternative source of revenue, which is impossible to do. So,
and your council is not going to be in the business, and I'm putting words in your mouth. I don't mean to do that, but your council is not in the business of cutting $100 million out of the. They're not going to do that.
No.
So you feel like, would it be fair to say that if the mayor makes the decision to raise property taxes and presents that within the budget, it will happen?
It's happening.
When would that be?
It would go into effect this next property tax.
No, I mean, when would he throw that proposal to the council?
So he, by charter, he has to present his budget before April 30th. And then we have to pass a budget before June 30th.
So if we want no new property taxes in Davidson County, the time is right now to be organizing against what we believe to be Mayor Freddie O'Connell's potential to call for a property tax increase.
Yes. And just to put it into perspective, my over-under on the percentage increase is 20%.
20% on top of the 34% that just happened however many years ago? 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, on that happy note, we have to go, Courtney.
I'm so sorry.
I mean, that's great.
I'm so sorry.
Well, I mean, it's time to get organized, in my opinion. If there is a robust group of people in Davidson County that want to fight against this, you got to fight against this now. He's not going to announce it. He's not going to say, hey, by the way, 2 weeks from now, I'm going to raise your property tax or propose we raise your property taxes. They're just going to throw it in there.
Well, Matt, you know what I would say to all this is elections matter. And so when we have 80% of the electorate that does not turn out for local elections,
that's true.
This is what happens.
That's Courtney's way of reminding me that I voted for Andy in the primary. That's what she did there.
And have regretted it every day since.
Courtney Johnston, thank you. There's a Metro City Councilor Courtney Johnston. Back in a moment. All right, so Efficient Heating and Cooling, I've been telling you to get that AC scheduled, right? Have you done it yet? Have you scheduled your AC maintenance check? You never pay over $125 for a maintenance check, no matter how many AC units you have at your residence. That's the deal, right? And oftentimes it's much less than that with Jeff Eddy. And Efficient Heating and Cooling. Let's say that your AC was going putter, spit putter. Toward the end of the season last year, and you made it barely to the end of the season, and now you feel like, man, I don't know whether to replace this thing or perhaps there's something that can be done. Get Jeff Eddy in your life. Efficient Heating and Cooling can come out there and check that unit, and they'll give you an honest assessment as to whether or not it's time. And if it's time, they're an Elite Pro partner with Rheem, and they can help you find the right AC unit for you and for your family. You can trust Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling. He was a small company, but he's got a big heart and big results. Give him a call today at 615-784-4424, 784-4424 for Efficient.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Tracking the potential for severe weather tonight. We're on the low end of the risk scale. We're a 1 out of 5. But everyone north of the Kentucky border is under a tornado watch until 11 o'clock tonight. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Let's start with Brian Clark this hour, covering today's decision on interest rates.
The Federal Reserve left interest rates unchanged as expected, but still believes they will go down by 0.5 percentage point this year. That would likely mean 2 quarter-point cuts. The Fed's Open Market Committee did note uncertainty as it reduced projected growth this year while increasing expectations for inflation.
Escalation in the deportation flights fight. Catherine Falder says a federal judge today gave the Trump administration 24 hours to answer questions about the 2 flights of alleged Venezuelan gang members deported to El Salvador on Saturday, despite that judge's order to turn the flights around.
The judge wants answers to very specific questions, the exact times that these planes took off from U.S. soil, what times they left U.S. airspace, when they landed in the foreign countries, and then if the individuals on those flights were subject to deportation solely under the Alien Enemies Act, something that the judge ordered cannot happen.
U.S. Supreme Court expected to have the final say. More details about the first Trump-Zelensky call since their explosive Oval Office meeting just weeks ago. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt.
President Trump also discussed Ukraine's electrical supply and nuclear power plants. He said that the United States could be very helpful in running those plants with its electricity and utility expertise. American ownership of those plants would be the best protection for that infrastructure and support for Ukrainian energy infrastructure.
White House says they're going to continue to share intelligence with Ukraine, also that they're going to have to find air defense systems for Ukraine. Meanwhile, in Gaza,
there was about a 3 or 4-year-old girl with a bunch of shrapnel wounds all over her face and her head. She couldn't breathe properly and her pulse was thready and she was going to die and there was nothing we could do about it. So I had to just tell her dad that there was nothing we could do. She was going to die.
That is Dr. Feroz Sidwa, a trauma surgeon volunteering at Gaza's Khan Yunis Hospital, who says they had hundreds of patients flood the ER within a half hour of Israeli airstrikes, which resumed after Hamas refused to release all of the hostages and extend phase 1 of that ceasefire. Police in Fresno County, California, investigating a stabbing spree on a busy street today. Here's Alex Stone.
Police in the Central California town of Atwater say a man randomly stabbed 4 victims with what's called a sickle, or a reaping hook, an agricultural tool with a curved blade on it. The man allegedly walked up to a bus stop and randomly stabbed 3 victims and then went to a warehouse next door and stabbed a 4th victim. All of the victims are alive, but they were airlifted out. After a short chase, the attacker was arrested. None of the victims were apparently connected to the man. A motive is unclear.
That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, north of downtown, TDOT showing a multi-vehicle crash blocking the eastbound 2 right lanes of Briley Parkway at I-65. And then over east of downtown, looks like they have just cleared a crash that was impacting westbound 24 right there before the eastern split. Still very heavy if you are eastbound 440 to get over to the eastern split. And then northbound 65 is bumper to bumper between 440 and 40, the South Loop. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Matt Murphy, and we're halfway home with the Matt Murphy Radio Show. Thank you for being a part of it today. Whether you're participating via the phone line, 615-737-9986. Perhaps you're joining us on the text line, same telephone number. Maybe you're hitting me up on my social media platform, at Matt Murphy Show. That's my X account. You're invited, at Matt Murphy Show. Just follow me if you go over there. Thank you. I'd appreciate it. I'm trying to get to... I was looking over there. 17.5 is what I'm at, and I'm almost. I need like 3 more followers to get to 17.5. Come on, you could be. If you're the 20,000th Matt Murphy follower, I will give you 2 table tickets and provide a donation in your name to Men of Valor on March 26th at the Men of Valor breakfast at Music City Center. I'm not even kidding. If you're the 20,000th. But see, here's the problem. I'm like 2,000 away from that. So naturally, people will want to be the 20,000th. So they'll wait. So they'll wait. And so you know what? To hell with it. Forget it. Just forget the whole thing. Forget I said anything about it. Cameron Smith joins us in studio. He was here just yesterday.
Yeah.
How'd it go?
We had a lot of fun.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's easy when I support the administration and where they are, everybody's happy. Mm-hmm. When I have to be a little critical, it's a little tougher sledding. And so yesterday, it was pretty easy.
You were supporting the administration?
They compared to what Democrats are offering right now, wow.
Not really a compare. I don't know that Democrats are offering very much at all. And part of what I want to talk to you about is where in the world they're going. I mean, it baffles me that they have lost their way this much in the wilderness. And frankly, I think Trump can take a little bit of credit for that, and we'll talk about that. But before we do any of that, I have to ask you and Chris Webber and, potentially by extension, Ken Weaver, a very, very important question. Mm-hmm. Chris Webber behind the glass. You know what? I feel like I'm seeing half of you nowadays. I like it. I think it's good.
Well, thanks.
Are you trying to not talk about it?
We can talk about it. I just
we've got a nice background. I think it would look even better in this room. Don't you think? What do you think? No?
I think it might be in the way in that room.
It knocked it over.
We need something a little more appropriate size-wise.
Yeah, probably so.
That we could put up.
But that's a good test run though for what it could be, things could be. And if you want to know what we're talking about, wait a minute. You've got one behind you now too.
Yeah.
But Weber's like all motivated. Wow. Company man.
No.
Can you see Weaver back there?
I can see him if I peek around the corner.
I can see half his head.
Yeah.
He's back there. I see
fellas, him. I'm still here.
He's I don't know what kind of I think Ken, I think Chris Webber might be making shine on the side in the control room. That's what the banners
Never you
are.
mind. Never you mind.
You just mind your own business.
Making shine.
You know what I mean? He's putting up curtains. That's what, maybe he's making shine. I don't know. Here's what I need to ask you fellas about. This dollar bill that Dan Mandis got so paranoid about this morning. So I start getting, I chose not to participate in this because I stayed up real way past my bedtime, so I slept in. And so I didn't get up until like 8 o'clock because I was up until an ungodly amount. I mean, it might have even been after 8. Bottom line is this. I woke up to a lot of texts saying, you are freaking Dan Mandis out with this dollar bill. And I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I have nothing to do with it. I left the studio at 5:30. There was no dollars available because I would have taken it. What's up with the dollar?
It's just there.
Oh, the dollar. Yeah, okay. I think, honestly, it probably fell out of Melissa Bouchard's pocket yesterday because I saw it on the floor last night where she was sitting yesterday.
And so you just put it up on
I just put it up. I said, well, someone might want something from the vending machine.
Yeah. Oh, that's very kind of you.
Yeah.
You could have easily pocketed that dollar bill, but
I wouldn't have anything to do with a dollar. I don't carry cash normally.
He's a high roller, and high rollers don't mess around with this
we don't need the singles.
plebe stuff.
Did you just hear what he said? I wouldn't have anything to do with a dollar.
Right.
Meaning,
wow,
I don't spend cash. I don't carry cash, so a dollar wouldn't do me a whole lot of good.
Have you heard of Bitcoin? Just saying.
Apparently, I need to get with the program.
That guy.
All I know is that Dan Mandis got freaked out this morning about it. He thought it was some sort of setup.
Obviously. That would be the Danish thing to imagine.
No, he was like actively on. I'm told, I did not hear it in person, but I'm told that our own Dan Mandis with Nashville's Morning News was convinced that Matt Murphy was setting him up in some fashion, like I had put, COVID on it or anthrax or.
Well, I don't think the pranks typically involve like a string attached to it,
and then
he pulls it away.
Right.
Not COVID or anthrax, but those are also options for good pranks.
Okay, I mean, that is the most Dan Mandis-y thing that I've ever heard about Dan Mandis, is that he was convinced that that dollar there was some sort of setup, and if he takes it, like there's going to be a curse on him and his family.
We need to start leaving random things here just for Dan to consider them.
Is it? I wonder if Dan's listening. I don't want to admit it, but
well, the old operations manager Charlie Cook used to do things like that.
Mm-hmm.
He would like leave a quarter laying in the hallway
just to see
how long it would stay there.
I think Dan, were you still in the morning when somebody was putting magnets on Dan's locker?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some odd magnets.
Yeah. And it was freaking him out.
Radio station hijinks are the best.
Right. Like apparently somebody was putting magnets on Dan's locker that said like, go away.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, like like harsh,
subtle,
like harsh kind of magnets. There was one that he talked about that was something about a contract killing.
Oh,
wow! I don't recall that.
Wow,
that is
indeed
intense magnet.
Sounds like some Bell K sort of stuff.
Yeah,
that's what I kind of figured. So y'all are telling me that I'm good on this dollar. Then I'm good to go enjoy myself.
Yeah,
some
go get you a Snicker bar.
Delicious beverage. Or
I don't think that will buy anything. Actually.
Yeah. Everything's over $1 now.
Is it really?
Yeah.
See, I never buy anything in there.
The most I'll go for is a Diet Dr. Pepper, and that does cost you a cool $1.40 if you use your credit card.
We'll have to during the break. We'll have to check, and then we can do that, and we can leave that thing in here and see what happens.
If it's edible, it'll be gone.
I've got a couple of other ideas for items that Dan needs to just leave them.
I know what we can do. Let's go get a fork. And we'll just, before you leave, Murphy, just leave it laying underneath the microphone there.
A fork.
Just a fork.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fair.
I heard Mandis also, I was listening to Nashville's Morning News when Mandis said that he wasn't addicted to anything. And I'm like, dude, you drink like 14 cups of Slippery Elm tea or whatever it is every day.
That's the creepiest name for a product ever.
Uh-huh.
Slippery
Throat
Elm.
coat. That's what it is.
Slippery Elm throat coat.
Yes. Which I can't say with a straight face.
Good for you.
Yep.
Yeah, because the humor that you develop at the age of 13 sticks with you.
It does.
For the rest of your life. So is it a thing or not a thing? what I'm about to say. Auto pin issue. A thing, not a thing.
Not a thing.
So is it a thing or not a thing if through the auto pin issue, I'm going to press the auto pin issue after you tell me it's not a thing.
That's fair.
If we discovered through this issue that Joe Biden was unaware of things being signed in his name at the time that it happened, and I don't know how you could prove that.
Yeah, the difficulty would be proving it, of showing that, hey, he was not on, because every member of Congress, for example, has an auto pen. And they sign Dear Colleague letters. They sign all the things.
Constituent letters and all
that stuff. As much as you want to believe that that signature is from a member, it's an auto pen with literally.
Like it's an actual pen.
Yeah.
But it replicates the signature of the
Yeah, they just
senator.
record it. It's actually a machine with a cartridge. And the cartridge is your signature, and you stick that cartridge in, and then that pen that you insert, you can change out different pens, have different types of it, but it will essentially, with pressure and everything, mirror your signature. And there are real strict rules that most offices have for who can use that auto pen and what it can be used for. And the White House is no exception to that. But I would be shocked if there was any presidency in recent history that did not avail itself of an auto pen, because the president has to sign so much stuff. He would sit there and sign stuff all the time.
So whether or not we believe that Joe Biden, I mean, we can believe all we want that Joe Biden was not cognizant of the things being signed in his name.
Right.
And we're probably right.
That's based on what we've seen. There was some real cognitive decline there.
But in order to declare some of that null and void, that would involve courts, and that would involve proving that he had no.
Yeah, Trump's not going to drag that out. He's going to say that just to kind of fire a shot across the bow. But those pardons are legitimate and are going to have an operative effect. Should they have been issued? Probably not. I mean, let's be honest. But they were, and the president does have that authority. And you can imagine how strange it would be if a president could issue a pardon that the subsequent president could then just say no. I mean,
like, I'm issuing a pardon, reversing the pardon. I'm issuing a reverse pardon.
This is an unpardon. I mean,
if the Constitution gave unpardons, some of y'all better get in line.
But I think that's the way the pardon has to be, is once it's issued, it's over.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, no, I get that functionally. I mean, particularly for the rights of the pardoned.
Right.
Right. I mean, if you're pardoned, whether you should have been or not.
Because you can also have subsequent issues and stuff like that. If you have a pardon and then Congress says, hey, you got to come in and testify, you rely on that pardon, you testify, and then somebody was able to undo it, then what? Then you've talked about it. They can be used against you. I mean, it creates all sorts of stuff. So no,
well, and it's one of the reasons that, frankly, I mean, just extending this conversation beyond the idea of pardons and auto pens, one of the reasons that Congress needs to get off its butt and start acting on some of the reversals of the executive order. I mean, I appreciate Trump reversing some of the executive orders authored by Joe Biden. I appreciate all of the executive orders Donald Trump's done, but so much of this can be undone should we see a Democrat president in 3.5 or 3 years,
Absolutely.
whatever it is.
Absolutely.
And we need to get the Congress off their butts to act in a legislative fashion. And frankly, there comes a point where we're risking giving way too much authority to the executive branch without Congress saying, hey, this is our job. We'll take care of it.
We've reached that point. We have passed that point. Just ask any Democrat right now whether they like the way the executive branch is wielding the authority.
Well, they did about a year ago.
They loved it until they didn't.
Right.
And that the flip side of that is the same for us. That, when we like things Trump's doing, we're like, yeah, you go. Imagine that's a Democrat that's doing that in the other direction and forcing every federal employee to declare their pronouns in their signature. That kind of thing.
Do you judge people when you see that?
Yes.
I do too.
But it's not really a judge. It's just I kind of know your politics right out of the gate.
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, I'm not saying I think you're a horrible human being or whatever, but I immediately feel like I understand who you are, and I don't like you.
Same way with masks.
I'm just not going to like you.
Same way with masks. And I don't say I like them or not, but like if you're wearing a mask in public in 2025, I know you're a Democrat.
But I don't. If you feel it's what I will say that if you put she, her, or he, him on an email,
they, them is fun.
Or they, them in an email signature, I know that you are a personality type that is not going to get along with Matt Murphy.
That's fair. But there's also the issue. I think now some people, it's just, particularly in the corporate space where it was sort of like force fed, you shall do this. There's a lot of people that just do it on autopilot because they're like, oh, well, the company required it, and then I've been doing it. Oh, well.
They should stop. Or she should stop, or he should stop, or they, them should. I don't know. Or
whomever.
Whoever it is should stop. All right, 21 after the hour. We'll stop right now. We'll continue talking about Donald Trump and activist judges in a moment. We'll discuss. You brought up something earlier today to me, and a little thing that we've got going on that we'll talk about a little bit later. 29%, and we'll tell you the significance of that percentage with Cameron Smith coming up in a moment on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right, friends, it's Matt Murphy. Time for our visit with my man Tony over at Cabinet Solutions in Hendersonville. Always a good conversation. Hey, Tony, what's going on, brother?
Hey, buddy. I just want to talk a little bit about the benefits of remodeling your kitchen and master bath.
Let's do it.
Of course, you're able to enjoy those areas on a different level with family and friends, and another benefit is taking the opportunity to design, the space to work how you live in it. But maybe the best is the added equity that you can create for resale or qualifying for a larger home equity loan for other projects. Kitchens are still the workhorse for adding equity in your home, Matt.
Well, and I thought about this when we toured the incredible facility in Hendersonville at Cabinet Solutions, that those rooms that create value are rooms with cabinets in them, like the bathroom space, especially the kitchen space, the walk-in closets, those types of things. I mean, that's what you do. You add value to home spaces.
That's exactly right. And listen, I've got an in-house remodeling contractor as well. If people need that to help them get ready, they don't have to go, looking around for electricians, plumbers, carpenters, flooring guys, countertop guys. We got everything they need right there under one roof.
Tony is not only your resource for all things cabinets in your home, he's also your resource for what he just mentioned, and that is people that know how to get it done if you're looking for a remodel expert. Tony, the best way to get a hold of you through the website?
It is mycabinetsolution.com. Fill out a form or find our number and give me a call.
mycabinetsolution.com. And don't forget, 15% off through the month of March. Ask Tony about it when you make the call to Cabinet Solutions.
interest rates, Nashville property tax increase prediction, and the first ever safe haven baby box surrender in Chattanooga. These stories and more at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The JFK files have been released by the United States government. Apparently all of them have now been released, and so you can consume 80,000 pages of what will teach you nothing, because I don't believe anybody's going to come off their conspiracy theory regarding JFK or their theory regarding JFK, no matter what those files say. Accurate? Fair?
That's what they want you to believe. Right.
That's my X-Files.
They didn't release the
real stuff.
The real stuff.
They've already.
This was the stuff everyone already knew.
That's fake, right? Right. I mean, if it,
yeah.
I think it's baked into the cake. Everybody has decided what they think happened, and they know better.
Right. And it happened a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
So,
1963, last time I checked. 10 years before I was born.
If they're going to release the Trump files, I want to see those.
Yeah, where the hell are the Epstein files? That's what I want to know.
Well,
what happened to that?
They released them to a select group of social media influencers, and then
held up there.
Nobody knows.
No, they released everything that was already public.
Right.
I mean, this is literally what happened. And then they went, hold on a second. That's not the good stuff. Now, this is Pam Bondi, who I want to believe in. Kash Patel, who I want to believe in. These are the folks that went, oh, yeah, we'll release it tomorrow. You're going to see. And then we got it, and we're like, this is all stuff that came out in trial. What are you doing? This is all stuff. This is nothing.
We put it together in a folder.
That's right. And put a thing on the front of the folder that said Epstein Files, Phase 1. And we're like, hey, where's the good stuff? Oh, well, that's being withheld in New York. We'll get to that. And then nothing. What's taking so long?
Well, sources and methods, Matt. You know? I think we need to embrace a policy of radical transparency in the federal government. That the default is you get it unless someone has actively classified it. And then you get to know who did it. Like, who actively classified the file. And so then we can know who to argue with and, get rid of. That kind of thing.
RD? Is that RD? I think it's RD. RD, we'll get to you in a moment on the JFK front. We'll talk to Cameron about 29%. 29%. If you don't know the significance of that percentage, we'll do that. Plus, nincompoops in the news. On Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
$5:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories, tracking another round of potentially severe weather tonight. Right now, the risk is very low here in Middle Tennessee. However, everyone in Kentucky, north of Nashville, north of the Tennessee border, is under a tornado watch until 11. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Fed Chair Jerome Powell leaving interest rates right where they are for now.
Some near-term measures of inflation expectations have recently moved up. We see this in both market and survey-based measures. And survey respondents, both consumers and businesses, are mentioning tariffs as a driving factor.
He did say the Fed still expects to cut rates this year, just, again, not right now. Here's some money news in Nashville. Metro Council member Courtney Johnston tells WTN's Matt Murphy Show now is the time to organize against what she says will be a property tax increase in Mayor Freddie O'Connell's budget.
Yes, and just to put it into perspective, my over-under on the percentage increase is 20%.
The mayor must submit his budget by the end of next month. And the White House says President Trump suggested to Ukraine President Zelensky today that the U.S. help run Ukraine's nuclear power plants. Moving beyond that minerals deal,
President Trump also discussed Ukraine's electrical supply and nuclear power plants. He said that the United States could be very helpful in running those plants with its electricity and utility expertise. American ownership of those plants would be the best protection for that infrastructure and support for Ukrainian energy infrastructure.
Middle East conflict. Israel's begun a new ground campaign in Gaza. And right now in Tennessee, Chattanooga has its first surrender of an infant at their safe haven baby box. It lets parents in crisis safely and anonymously leave their newborns without fear of prosecution under state law. The baby was left at Chattanooga's Fire Station 6, where firefighters say the infant's alive and healthy. There are now 12 safe haven baby box locations in Tennessee and 284 across the country. And the hope is to have at least one baby box in each of Tennessee's 95 counties. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, over on the west end, a crash is blocking the right lane, 440 westbound, right before 40. And in Jordonia, you've got the right lane blocked, Briley Parkway northbound after the Ashland City Highway exit. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Every time I hear the phrase snow flurries, I think of Ken Weaver back there in News Closet B. I also, I think of you folks who are maybe settling in for perhaps the last stew of the season, maybe a nice chili before it starts getting warm. If you're thinking about cooking something up in the kitchen to celebrate a little bit of a colder snap over the next several days, might I encourage you to head over to Savory Spice? Oh, by the way, at Savory Spice, they now have discounts on over 25% of all of their spices. Holly was telling me about this the other day. This is pretty cool. This is what having a locally owned company that's great at what they do, spices and all things seasoning, like Savory Spice. So Holly said, the people that I buy from, the people that I get my spice from, her trusted sources, that they have discounted their prices. So instead of just passing that same price on to you and just reaping the profit, they were like, well, why wouldn't we pass the savings on to our customers? And they're doing that with over 25% of their spices in the store in Franklin at Savory Spice. Go by and see the delicious spices and seasonings and all the kind of flavors that they've got, plus the mixes. I mean, they've got the Spice and Easy line, which is pretty cool. Chefs go there, newbies go there. It's the one and only Savory Spice. Right off the square in Franklin, tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
Oh, pardon me. I tell you all the time that U.S. Pest, my man J.K. and Erica Brister, they're fine Americans. If you're traveling the city and you see one of those incredible billboards that say U.S. Pest on them, you will no doubt always see an American flag somewhere in the proximity, oftentimes flying proudly right above that sign. Why? Because they're proud to be Americans at U.S. Pest, and they are proud to provide you with the best pest protection around. JK says that if you're with another company, if you've got a monthly contract with another company and you choose to come over to U.S. Pest, they're going to say thank you by providing your first service at no cost to you. That is about a $200 value from U.S. Pest if you change contracts. They offer full-service pest control, termite protection, crawl space services, all available for you at a 100% satisfaction rating. The purpose of pest control is simple: to keep the creepy crawlies out of your house, to keep them off your property, to make sure that they don't bring the diseases with them that they often bring. This spring, let's stop all of these pests. A barrier, a wall of protection from U.S. Pest. Go to uspest.com or call 590-1260, 590-1260 for our friends at U.S. Pest. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Matt Murphy, and this is the Matt Murphy Show. We're proud to have you with us. Thank you for being around. Nincompoops in the news is coming up in mere seconds. We've got two things to clean up before we get to that. One is RD, and RD, I can say a lot of towns in the state of Tennessee, and I've never been able to say, is it Culleoka?
Culleoka, Matt. I never heard of Culleoka until my wife presented to me. We moved down here from Nashville and moved on our little horse farm and living a good life down here after retirement.
Excellent.
It's really nice.
Yeah, I hear that Culleoka is a beautiful part of the state. You ever see Andy down there? It's my understanding Andy lives in Culleoka. You know what I'm talking about, Andy Ogles?
I know of him. I've never seen him, but I'm well.
He's probably in D.C. a lot nowadays.
Man, listen, brother, I thoroughly enjoy listening to you daily. You know, as it said, you will always remember where you were, or what you were doing when a major historic event occurs. I am 75 years old, and I remember as if it was yesterday. I was at school in Miss Ellis's 8th grade math class when the principal came over the intercom and said, "Students, our president has just been shot." Everyone report to the auditorium, and we would together sit and watch the coverage of this on our televisions. I'm a student of history, love history. I have done extensive, in-depth research of the JFK assassination. I am convinced Lee Harvey Oswald was a trigger man. I am not convinced on who may or may not have been involved. Personally, I lean toward mafia involvement, in particular, Carlos Marcello in New Orleans, Santos Trafficante in Tampa, and Sam Giancana up in Chicago. And I know you researched this, so you understand why I feel this way.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, Matt, I would really enjoy hanging up and listening you discuss why it is you disagree with the mafia involvement. So thank you for taking my call, and you keep up the good fight, my friend.
Thank you, brother. I mean, I appreciate you, RD, and that is a deep subject for my shallow mind at this stage in the proceedings. But I would say that I have researched it. I understand that the mafia didn't like JFK. I don't believe that they would have done it in the fashion that they did it. I don't believe that it would have been. And there were plenty of opportunities based on the level of Secret Service that was available at the time, based on the level of protection and, frankly, the lack of protection. There were better opportunities to kill JFK if you did it in an organized fashion. That is the primary reason that I believe that it was a singular act by a singular gunman, Lee Harvey Oswald, because his access involved the 6th floor book depository. His access involved his workplace. His access involved his knowledge that day of the specific route that was happening. The mafia, and with their resources, I feel like there was a much better way. The shot that was taken, that was not an easy thing. That was
right.
That could have gone badly very easily. And if you're a professional and you want assurances that when you go for the king, you better get the crown, so to speak, I don't think they would have done it that way. That's just a surface level as to why I would disagree with that. Where are you on JFK, Cameron?
I'm just not that interested. I mean, because we know that he was, in fact, assassinated.
Oh, he was shot then.
And that, to me, is sort of the end of it. I mean, just as Trump was not assassinated. I mean, sure, is it interesting to me to think of, well, who would have done it and why? Was the CIA involved? I mean, it's sort of a fun mental gymnastics thing, but, the fact is the president was killed. And there was a domino effect of a number of other actions after that, and we've dealt with the fallout. And as with Trump, him not being killed, we dealt with the fallout of that. And so,
as macabre as it might seem, sometimes I contemplate, and I'm thankful. I get down on my knees and thank God that Donald Trump was not killed.
Yeah.
In Butler, Pennsylvania, but I contemplate what could have happened to our country in terms of the fallout. It would have been, I perished the thought.
That one's easy for me in the sense of I think we would have had, if not a civil war, massive civil unrest. You would have had a lot of folks in red states like Tennessee say, wait a minute, you just took out the guy who's going to be the next president of the United States.
Was taken out by the deep state. Well, is what
exactly.
The argument would have been.
And, now what? It would have been a period of unrest. It would
martial
have been,
law?
Yeah. I mean, you would have had.
I think the unrest would have gotten to the point that whoever handled the White House at that point would have called for martial law.
Yeah. And I don't know that they would have had a choice, because I think that you would have had violence, because you recall at that point how upset people really were about the way the government was being run. And for that, the deep state then to take out the person that was its biggest threat, whoo, buddy.
Let's talk about a few lighter things.
Okay.
You got you a nincompoop over there?
I do.
It's time for Nincompoops in the News. I mean, by now, you understand what's going on in Washington, D.C. We're covering everything that's happening around the globe, around our United States of America, around the state of Tennessee. Now it's time to look in those same places and find the nincompoops where they live and breathe. Speaking of nincompoops, my name is Matt Murphy. There's Cameron Smith. There's Chris Webber. There's Ken Weaver behind the glass.
How about you?
Hey, boys, what's going on? Everybody good?
Everybody's good.
Yeah, I don't know who wants to go first.
I'll go first.
I love it when Ken Weaver volunteers.
I love the enthusiasm.
Well, it tells me that Ken's going to win, basically.
We knew that already.
Yeah, right. All right, Ken, let's go.
This comes out of Livingston, Tennessee, just northeast of Cookeville. A video confirms what a customer saw at the Steel Co-op restaurant, the Steel Coop restaurant in Livingston, Tennessee. This is just northeast of Cookeville. A couple putting a hair in their food before calling a waiter over to complain about it to get their meal comped. So in the video, you see this man putting the hair in his plate and picking up his plate looking incredulous, calling over a waiter. Now, after they got their meal comped and left, the customer who saw it all told the manager, who then checked the surveillance video, and sure enough, the man reaches under the table, produces a hair. I don't know what the hair was doing under the table.
I don't want to know.
Which makes it even worse.
Don't.
So he puts it into the food, and I mean, after that, the manager she tells Channel 4 she just saw red. And they decided to put that video out on the internet for everyone to see.
That's good.
That's bad publicity anyway. If your food takes too long, something's cold, something's not cooked right. This was one that we're like, you know what? We should post this. People need to see that it's not always the restaurant that is wrong.
And unfortunately for this couple, what goes on the internet never goes away.
Yeah.
Police were able to find the couple, and since the restaurant didn't want to press charges, the officers said, go back, pay your bill. They did, but the restaurant's not taking that video down. They're using that to warn other small-town restaurants in the area to be on the lookout for this particular couple.
I love that.
Yeah, nice.
A little social media justice going on there.
That'll teach them.
You got to be, I'm not saying to go out and do this sort of thing, but what a couple of morons.
You got to be
There's
loving.
cameras everywhere, man.
Well, with my crew and my boys, I just assume it's one of our hairs. I'm like, whose is this?
Right.
It's not like there is a hair. I'm like,
Especially if it came from under the table, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Gross. My hair's pretty defined, too, so when it happens to my family, I can say, that's not me.
Oh, my goodness. Have y'all ever found anything in your food?
My daughter.
I found hair.
Yeah.
My daughter finds a hair in her food every time we go out. And
I
she's
just
not.
keep eating.
Yeah, she's not planting it.
When we were in college, my wife and I went to a fancy dinner at this restaurant in Lexington, Virginia, and she found a Band-Aid in her food.
Oh, okay.
That'll get you comped food.
It did not.
What?
It did not. We told them, hey, there's a Band-Aid in this. They took it away. They brought out a new one. They didn't comp anything because we were college students, and they figured, I guess, we wouldn't know any better.
Or you would maybe did it.
Yeah. No, it was pretty clearly baked in there. Like it was one of those things. It wasn't on top. It was just in it. And so.
Oh, it was baked Band-Aid.
We did not go. We did not go back there.
Baked Band-Aid.
And what was crazy is it was actually one of the nice restaurants in town. And they were just like, they acted like it was just not a thing.
Well.
Anyone that tells you the phrase, the customer is always right, has never worked in customer service.
There are a lot of dumb customers.
I worked at Waffle House for a while in college, and before I worked at Subway, a restaurant, and I was the shift manager at Subway. The number of people, it fascinated me at both Waffle House, but especially at Subway, the number of people that came in and just demanded free food. Yeah. It was fascinating to me. Like, they're just give me a free sandwich. No, I'm not giving you a free. No, you can do it. Give me a free sandwich. No, I'm not giving you a free sandwich. Come on, man. Just make me a free sandwich. It's like, has there been people that make you free sandwiches? Because I'm not one of those guys. It's fascinating to me. Cameron Smith.
I'm going to continue my tradition of just entering Florida Man to see what happens as far as nincompoops go. A Florida man was arrested for allegedly making very concerning threats against U.S. President Donald Trump on social media. Ken Aaron Todd, 42, was detained by police and charged in St. Lucie County on Monday because of these threats that included, quote, fight me naked to the death, close quote.
There you go.
I'll get a hair in the food.
Yes. Mr. Todd.
Fight me naked to the death.
It was an 80-second rant in which Mr. Todd also declared himself the U.S. president. He said, because of Donald Trump, every single person in the world is cursed. And he said that Donald Trump has personally made business decisions which have hurt so many different reincarnated Jesuses.
All right.
Okay.
Yep.
There's a lot to cover there.
Yep. Wow. So they're taking all these threats seriously, but especially the naked fight. Because if you're going to have a real good fight, might as well be naked.
It's got to be naked.
Let me tell you something.
It's the only way to make it sure it's fair.
If you find yourself in a situation where somebody's willing to get into a physical altercation with you naked,
run,
because they're going to win.
If somebody's squaring
they're going to win.
If somebody's squaring up with me to fight and they take off their clothes, I am gone so fast.
You have won.
You won.
You win, dude.
Congratulations.
That's the time to do the old Bobby Bear song, "The Winner." So, okay, you want to win this fight? I quit.
But can you imagine the psychology of like squaring up against somebody, playing Marvin Gaye, Let's Get It On, and then they take off their clothes? Like how much that would that's intimidation right there.
Why do we have to do this naked?
I don't know.
Fight me naked.
Right now.
Mr. Weber.
All right, mine comes from Monroe, North Carolina. Back on February 24th, police received a 911 call from a man who stated that he had been locked inside a storage unit since the previous week. He tells the 911 operator, I've been locked in a storage unit for about a week now, and I just now found my phone. The operator says, so you're locked in a storage unit? Yes, my girlfriend locked me in here. She doubled up my lock, and I don't know how she put me in here, but she put me in here, and I just now found my phone inside this storage unit. I've been here since last week.
Okay.
Police Lieutenant Morgan Malone said the man and his girlfriend Robin Deaton had gotten into an argument before he was locked inside.
Clearly.
Deaton allegedly closed the door behind to the unit behind her boyfriend and locked it from the outside. 911 operators asked, do you need EMS to come check you out as well? He replied, I just need to get out of here. I can't breathe. I haven't had anything to drink or anything. I know there's 2 locks on this unit. She put 2 locks on it for some reason. Well, it's to keep you in there, buddy.
I guess so, yeah.
The man had been locked in the storage unit since Thursday, the 20th, and was rescued on Monday, the 24th. Police had to force their way into the unit. The man was dehydrated and reportedly taken to the hospital, but seemingly unharmed otherwise. An arrest warrant for Deaton was issued. She's being charged with attempted murder and first-degree kidnapping.
Wow. Hell hath no fury.
Yep.
Like, well, what do you think he did?
Man, I don't know. I don't want to do it. That's
I don't
want
to do it either. All right, I got to go quick, man. The title of my nincompoop story today is Tentacles of Doom.
Well,
an unlucky diver was attacked by an aggressive. Subtitle: I always root for the animal. I always root for the animal. I always root for the animal in every case. An unlucky diver was attacked by an aggressive octopus that nearly strangled him to death after he disturbed the octopus's home. Octopi. The diver foolishly used a pole to poke the octopus. Don't
come on.
Don't, y'all. If y'all learn anything from the show today, don't poke the puss.
Jeez.
I'm not going there.
I guess it's slightly better than the maggots previously.
The octopus.
Right.
The diver foolishly used a pole to poke the octopi home. When the marine mollusk awoke, the diver grabbed him and angered the 8-legged creature. He hit back by shooting a cloud of ink at the diver and then latched onto his hands. The diver began to panic as it gripped tighter and tighter, could not get it off. He pulled on the animal. It tightened its grip. The octopus went for it and began to climb up the diver and wrapped itself around the diver's neck and face. Wow. I mean, this was, okay, you want to go, bro? We'll get naked and we'll fight.
Fight me naked.
The diver then scrambled to the surface and continued to attempt to pull the creature away. Eventually, after several minutes, he managed to escape the grip. The octopus involved in the incident is believed to be a common octopus, not known to be dangerous to humans unless apparently poked in its home. There's my nincompoop
Do
of
you
the day.
see what happens, Larry?
I just want to say that Ken's delivery of "Fight Me Naked" sounds way too natural. Like he's done this before.
Oh, yeah.
Just saying.
I've been told stories.
Greater Murfreesboro area. That's how we play Nincompoops in the news. You're allowed to vote. 615-737-9986. Amongst the Nincompoop stories, who's your favorite? 55 after the hour. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy, and I want to talk to you about Dr. Poss, Dr. McLaughlin, and the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center. So, have you been prescribed with sleep apnea? Do you think you have sleep apnea, even with no direct diagnosis? You need to do something about your breathing, your sleeping, your snoring at night. Let's talk to Dr. Poss and Dr. McLaughlin about a sleep test, and let's talk to them about the possibility of getting an FDA-approved oral device that can assist you in breathing better through the night, snoring less through the night. That's going to benefit you and your significant other, and it will benefit you by getting more energy out of your sleep. And sleep apnea can be a serious health risk, friends. For mild to moderate sleep apnea, this is an option for you, and most insurance companies in the state of Tennessee cover their in-network with BCBS, Aetna, Cigna, United Healthcare, just to name a few. Dr. Poss and Dr. McLaughlin, locations in Brentwood and Murfreesboro. Friends, it's time to get this done. I've done it, and I absolutely love my oral device. You will love yours as well. It's Dr. Poss and the TMJ Solution Center. Go to drposs.com, drposs.com.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We are tracking the potential for severe weather here in Middle Tennessee. We are at a level 1 out of 5 risk for that happening. Level 1 is the lowest of the risk levels. However, Kentucky is under a tornado watch. Those counties in Kentucky just north of Nashville, tornado watch until 11. And right now, we've got a line of showers and storms that has developed in western Kentucky, and it is moving east. That stretches all the way back into parts of West Middle Tennessee, and it is moving east. We're keeping an eye on it for you. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. A bill to stock Tennessee high schools with feminine products is a step closer to the law. Channel 4's Dryden Quigley says this law would give female students free access to pads and tampons.
The bill is sponsored by Representative Elaine Davis, who tried to pass a similar bill last year. It failed from lack of funding. This year, she's trying again. Davis says it's important because right now the state taxes period products as non-essential luxury items, which means that many public assistance programs won't pay for them. She says that leaves some girls with nowhere to turn.
So if they have an emergency or if they just don't have the ability to purchase those products for themselves, they're there. So that way that gives them some dignity and also just keeps them in the classroom.
Interest rates staying put for now. Fed Chair Jerome Powell said that while inflation's under control, they have opted to take a more wait-and-see approach regarding those rates.
At today's meeting, the committee decided to maintain the target range for the federal funds rate at 4.25% to 4.5%.
Deportation flights fight. The White House pushing back on a D.C.-based federal judge, giving the Trump administration 24 hours to provide information on why they didn't turn around 2 planes with alleged Venezuelan gang members on Saturday.
We don't have any flights planned specifically, but we will continue with the mass deportations. And I would just like to point out that the judge in this case is essentially trying to say that the president doesn't have the executive authority to deport foreign terrorists from our American soil.
Judge James Boasberg says he now needs to determine whether his orders have been deliberately flouted and, quote, what the consequences should be. The White House says President Trump is suggesting the U.S. help run Ukraine's nuclear power plants, moving beyond just a minerals deal in his efforts to bring the war with Russia to an end. Selena Wang reports Trump and Ukraine President Zelensky spoke for an hour today.
There are some signs that there is a repairing of relations between U.S. and Ukrainian teams after that disastrous Oval Office meeting just a few weeks ago. The White House says that they're going to continue to share intelligence with Ukraine and also that they're going to help find air defense systems for Ukraine. Now, that's significant because remember, there was that temporary pause in military and intelligence sharing.
That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Spring Hill, a crash blocking the left two lanes, 65 northbound at 8:40, and it's very heavy going southbound because everybody's stopping to look at it. And in Berry Hill, we got a stalled vehicle blocking the left shoulder, 440 eastbound before I-65. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I think I speak for 1249 when I say there was a four-way tie today for nincompoops in the news. Now I'll tally up the votes and let you know how it goes. I'm still here, by the way, despite the many of you that felt like I was about to get called to the principal's office. Not yet. Not yet. And how do all of y'all know that the bigwigs are in town? Like,
oh, I'm sure it was talked about earlier.
They pay attention, Matt.
Oh, yeah. The same guy that worried for 30 minutes about $1 on the table.
Yep.
Yeah, he would worry about the bigwigs
him.
being in town. That would be true. Cameron Smith is with us in studio, as he is wont to do on these Wednesdays. There's Chris Weber behind the glass. Behind his glass in News Closet B, that is Ken Weaver. My name is Matt Murphy, and this is the Matt Murphy Show, for better or worse. Yeah, the bigwigs are in town. It's just a normal bigwig visit, though. But isn't that what they always tell us?
Yes.
I never worry about the bigwigs.
And then all of a sudden, you're in a new office in Singapore.
I met one of the bigwigs, and he shook my hand. He said, "I've never been on this side of the building." I said, "I just come over here and I just find an office that's empty and go in it and act like it's mine," which is true.
That's what I told people last night. I just said, you left the door open, and I was here, and I just wandered in.
Yeah, and why not? You got an hour of free radio time. Let's go. Let's make it happen. Let's talk about 29%, Mr. Smith. Oh, by the way, you can get in on the conversation, 615-737-9986. You're invited to follow us on the X machine, follow us on the social media platforms. All of that is available to you, and we thank you for it. 29%.
Yeah. So this was pretty shocking. I guess it was a week or so ago that CNN polling pointed out that as long as it has been tracking partisan favorability, that this is the low water mark at 29% for Democrats. And this is not within the Democratic Party or within the Republican Party. This is national polling. So their favorability rating is at 29%, and it is the lowest since 1992.
Is that not reflective of? I think it's just reflective of where they are as a party. They have gone all in on, we are against that which Donald Trump is for, and we are for that which Donald Trump is against. And in a way, I think Trump has broken them to a certain degree. And they, if you ask me, I'll do it in this way. What do the Democrats stand for? What are their major platform positions right now?
They don't have them. And this is where Trump, for better or worse, has occupied their playground. He has adopted a set of policy positions that feel a lot like a 1990s Democrat. And that's where a lot of America is. That's the reason you can get to 60%, something like that, in terms of approval, with people saying, I may not love the guy, I may not love the way he runs his mouth or this or that, but the things that he has done for a lot of centrist Democrats, they should look familiar. Even the government reduction, the last person to do that was a 90s Democrat. That was Bill Clinton. And so some of this sort of the things that we're seeing are leaving Democrats with no lane. They don't have it is highly educated elites that are no longer the party of the common man. And that's just not a winning philosophy. It was sort of like Republicans that were the rich elites. That's what Democrats are still harping about. But the populist aspects of the Republican Party are very much working class policies.
You know, you and I talked about this earlier, and I guess I can pull back the curtain to a certain degree and say that Cameron and I have been talking about for a good while and now are finalizing a podcast.
Yeah, we are.
And we're very excited about it. Chris Webber's helping us with it. And we will be unveiling more details about said podcast coming up in the next few days or weeks. But the podcast will be called
All the Best Words.
All the Best Words. Because I say all the best words, Cameron writes all the best words. And together we are all the best words. Plus, it's kind of a hearkening back to one of our favorite clips from Donald Trump when he
said he had all the best words.
I have all the best. I say all the best words. It's so great. It's just incredible. All the best words.
But honestly, I'm thinking about scrapping that and just doing the Ken Weaver, fight me naked. I mean, you would listen to that podcast, right?
I would listen to the Fight Me Naked podcast.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. And I love the title of our podcast, All the Best Words. I think if we ever get a legal podcast going, which you could be a part of because you are a lawyer by training.
This is true.
Jay St. Clair and I want to start a podcast called $400 in a Crayon because that's his answer when people ask him when he makes his appearances on Friday. So many times over the 20 years we've been doing this, almost 20 years I've had him on my show, and they ask a question that starts with, Jay, can I sue ... and then there's some sort of, and Jay always says, what you're really asking me is, will I win?
Right.
But the answer to can I sue, whatever follows can I sue, is do you have $400 in a crayon? Because if you got $400 in a crayon, you can sue anybody.
Right.
For anything. Similarly, we have all the best words.
We do.
And so that will be unveiled coming up very, very shortly. But we were discussing this on All the Best Words that Donald Trump has, obviously he's a populist, and that is a political term of art, I suppose. But I call it the Walmartization of the Republican Party. When my grandfather was raising me, my grandfather made it very clear that we were Democrats because we were poor.
Right.
Right? And that's just the way people in the South grew up.
Yeah.
He was a Roosevelt Democrat.
My great-grandmother, Mama Gaines, said, you vote Democrat because the Democrats are for the farmer. And that mattered.
They're for the little folk. And they have lost that.
Absolutely.
And I think it's through a lot of different things, but primarily through identity politics. They have carved out all of these protected special classes of people. And the working guy in Tennessee, the working guy in Alabama, the working guy in California, for that matter, they're like, where do I fit into this party dynamic? They don't.
Well, the Democrats were always looking for another civil rights era. Like, that was righteous work. It absolutely mattered. It is. We've talked about this repeatedly of, hey, we were a nation that had the wrong perspective on things like race and gender, and we had a radical shift really fast, and it mattered, right? Well, when you start pushing and pushing and pushing and then get to the point where it's like, oh, you think gender is just male and female? Bigot.
Right.
Then average people were sort of like, that doesn't sound right.
Well, and they treat people that disagree with them mildly about certain issues. They have declared that if you veer from the reservation, you are a bad human being.
Right.
And so when people were like, okay, I want to treat other people nicely, and I want to be kind to other people, and if I encounter someone in my daily life that has decided they were born in the wrong body, for example, that they were born a man but they want to be a woman, I want to be nice to that person. I want that person to be able to live their life. But it's okay if I don't want that person, if they're a man and they want to be a woman, in my daughter's dressing room.
Right.
But what the Democrats decided to say is, no, it's not okay if you feel that way, you bigot.
Right.
And that's when people went, hold on a second. I know I'm not a bigot. I know I'm not a racist. I know I'm not these things you're calling me. Why are you calling me these things?
Well, and this is where they just pushed too far. They were not content to say, hey, we actually made a lot of progress on equality, and hey, particularly in these areas that clearly impact everybody. Like, yeah, this is really a big deal. We have to find the new frontier. And when that frontier was alphabet soup, and then the folks within the alphabet soup said, well, wait a minute, guys, we're not all the same either. Why do they get to paint with this broad brush? It just didn't set well. And I think that's where they're trying to figure out, well, do we continue that trajectory, or are we about something else? If you look at Fetterman, it looks like they're about something else. If you look at Jasmine Crockett, nope. Let us continue federal inertia plus woke identity politics.
Who's the leader of the Democrats right now? Is it AOC?
That is a painful thing for me to say. I think she probably, if you're looking for something that's a center of the Democratic Party, it's probably her. Because on the one end, you have Fetterman, that you would say is a swing state.
Has become incredibly reasonable on certain issues,
Right.
which is a frightening thing to say, but it's true.
Yes. So that would be sort of your reasonable wing that's more of the centrist part of the party. And then a Jasmine Crockett who just appears to be patently insane on a number of issues. And that means that AOC is sort of the center.
Oh, geez.
Which is...
That's great.
What has happened here?
That's awesome. 29%.
Right.
You're going to own that 29% for the rest of our lives.
Because they're just not listening to John Fetterman.
Well, and the great thing is when we see the great reclamation project that's happening in California right now, and we understand that. You see Tim Walz running around the country, slobbering over his fellow Democrats and trying to pretend like he's a manly man and getting upset when he's not referred to as a manly man. I mean, these are Gavin more so than Walz. He's smart enough to understand it. He can't, but he's afraid to say it out loud. If you are led by fear in terms of where you are on your policy positions, I don't think that's a winning prescription. I think people sniff it out. And Newsom seems to want to go there and say, guys, we are absolutely out of our minds if we think we can win national elections with these types of positions. But he's afraid that he'll get slayed.
But he's smart. And that's the reason I wouldn't quite write him off just yet. Because in spite of the fact I think he's a lizard person who is trying to figure out, okay, where's the average American and how can I connect with them? With the podcast and other things he's doing, he's trying to get this. It's just not native. He reminds me of a little bit of Christian Bale in American Psycho, but it's that type of mindset that he's trying to figure out. And I'm telling you, the biggest concern to Republicans should be somebody like John Fetterman gaining traction in the Democratic Party, because what he's doing is holding that middle ground and saying, you know what, I like it. I'm with these guys on these things. I'm with these guys on those things. That's how you build a coalition to govern. But right now, he's in the minority. And a lot of Democrats are just, why you keep saying things that aren't fighting the other side? And his point is, well, because we're losing. And so we need to go more towards the winning.
I would argue that that Patrick Bateman was right about Huey Lewis in the News.
Okay.
I mean, is that fair?
Yeah.
Probably wrong about everything else that he did or said in that movie, but
yeah,
right about Huey Lewis in the News. And if you've ever seen American Psycho, you know what I'm talking about, and you haven't, you're like, what the hell's Matt talking about? It's 20 minutes after the hour on Super Talk. Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy. Have you met my friend Shane Ring at Cover Nash? If not, why not? Here's the deal, folks. I just want you to get a health insurance check. You get your health checked if you're not feeling that well. You get your teeth checked. I've got a dentist appointment in the morning, as a matter of fact. Well, you need to get your health insurance checked, and Shane Ring is the guy to do that. He can give you a checkup to make sure you're getting the maximum insurance for the money that it costs you more often than not. He discovers that people are overpaying. Shane will sit down with you and shop the entire health care plan market and find a health care plan that is right for you, right for your family, that costs you less money than you're paying right now. Do not wait for open enrollment. The time is now to sit down with Shane Ring and cover NASH. Don't get taken advantage of either, and don't overpay. You can get your health plan coverage to actually pay you back in more ways than one, not the other way around. Find out from Shane how that is possible. Take control of your money and your health coverage managed by you, not by the government. Get with CoverNash. Go to covernash.com. That's covernash.com or 615-465-0023. 465-0023 for CoverNash.
Legislation to provide free feminine products in Tennessee high schools is advancing. We have news on interest rates and the deportation flights fight update and the day's closing money news at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Is this new? I thought we'd already done this. Oh, it's published today. It's 6:43 in the p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or Eastern Daylight Saving Time, I guess it is. So that would be 5:43 Middle Tennessee time. Donald Trump to sign executive order abolishing the Department of Education. I thought we'd already done that. You know what? It's just so fast and furious. I can't keep up.
That's a new thing? I thought we had started to do it.
I thought we'd already done that. He's moving forward with his plan to abolish the Department of Education, according to Fox News. Trump is expected to sign an executive order following through on a campaign promise to disband the department, claiming on the campaign trail it was full of radical zealots and Marxists. I wouldn't disagree with that. White House fact sheet states that the move will, quote, turn over education to families instead of bureaucracies. Cameron Smith, do you believe that this will have any realistic or tangible impact on the state of education in the state of Tennessee?
No. And here's why. The Department of Education, the federal government's responsible for roughly 10% of education funding in Tennessee across the board. That's kind of their contribution. I suspect that amount will be block granted through.
Mm-hmm.
And then any other programs, restrictions, things like that, it shouldn't make a big difference. I mean, if it's law, it's federal law. If you want this money, you must do this thing. It's federal law. If it's a agency thing, okay, we're going to know there's nobody there to enforce it. I just think it's kind of a silly thing. This was just basically federal politicians like having their hand in education.
Well, and it was sold, y'all correct me if I'm wrong, a little before my time, but it was sold to the American people as, hey, we're slipping on education here, and we've become a very modern society where people could move from Tennessee to California at any second. They could move from Washington, D.C. to Florida at any moment, and we need to standardize these educational opportunities and make sure that what Illinois is doing and what Mississippi's doing are the same things, and that these kids are getting a similar type education. We're going to make education better. And they really haven't. And it's really done none of that. And so if it was a grand 50-year or almost 50-year experiment, it failed. Let's go back to the other way of doing things. And we can continue to provide some federal dollars because I understand, sad as it may be, that many of the states depend on some of that money to continue. I don't think we do in Tennessee. I think we could make up for the 10%, but, we'll take it if they've got it.
Yeah, and I was just kind of perusing the history, and, I mean, it's been established and reconstituted. Andrew Johnson was the first in 1867. He created the first one, but it basically was information and statistics about schools, which I think is useful. We kind of want to have some benchmarks and idea of what's going on, but it really they combined this stuff, and the one that we know of looks like the department began operations in 1980 in its current permutation, and so it's just one of those things where why do you have to be here again? Why do we need the federal government there? And the answer is we just probably don't. Education is handled in the states. Like, there's no reason why we can't do that. And if people want to do crazy liberal things in California, conservative things in Tennessee, Maine has sort of a middle ground.
I mean,
okay.
According to some of my good friends in the homeschool community, we should just go ahead and disband the Tennessee Department of Education, too.
So it's funny you should say that, because the idea
That's kind of a joke, by the way. But
yes, I understand exactly where you're going with it. But the idea of ending compulsory education, sure, we could do that. That's probably an 80-20 issue against that. A lot of Americans, they say, I don't want you politicizing schools. I don't want the weird ideological stuff, but we do like an educated citizenry.
I have long made an argument, tell me if I'm out of bounds, that there is nothing that is fundamental to our Constitution of the United States of America that requires that the government provide public education. It is something that we, as a society of people that elect our representatives, have chosen to do. It's because we want it that way.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you really look at the Constitution and what it guarantees, they're negative rights. It's just we won't allow people to mess with you in these ways. That's it, because we didn't have any money or stuff and when those things were written. And so now we've said, well, we have health and human services. Okay, neat. Like, we can go down the list.
I mean, our friends on the left particularly, but I mean, I guess you could lean on the preamble, right, to promote the general welfare.
Right.
Right. I mean, and that's what you lean on. And that's kind of the constitutional basis. It's very vague. That's the basis for some of this stuff.
Right. And my point is, even if it's permissive and that you can do it, it doesn't mean you have to.
Amen.
And that's where a lot of our agencies have kind of lost their mission of they just do it because they've done it before.
But we are a society of the governed, and it was the argument. I mean, I'm alluding to the argument I got in with Brandon Lewis earlier in the week, and my point was that you either believe that there should be some level of tether to the child and government or not. And if you believe in untethering, you have to accept that not everybody's a good parent, and most are. and homeschoolers by far are more involved in the teaching and the education of their children as a percentage than parents that have kids that go to public school. I'm not denying that. What I am saying is that and this was my analogy that I used the other night, and they got mad at me, is that you don't pass child abuse laws because most parents don't abuse their children. You pass child abuse laws because there are some that do.
Yeah, and as a foster parent and a homeschool parent, I can tell you that the gamut ranges wildly in terms of the homeschool parents. I mean, some are great teachers, some really invest in their kids. Some are like, well, here's some essential oils. Hope you learn English.
Speaking of essential oils, Ken Weaver waits in News Closet B for a look at the headlines, and we'll get to them right now on Super Talk.
Got the full forecast in 5 minutes. Give you the rundown on this level 1 out of 5 risk for severe weather here in Middle Tennessee. It's a level 2 out of 5 north of the Tennessee border with Kentucky. In fact, those counties just north of Nashville in southern Kentucky under a tornado watch until 11 tonight. A bill is advancing in the General Assembly to stock Tennessee high schools with feminine products which girls could access free of charge. Deportation flights fight. The White House pushing back after a federal judge gave the Trump administration 24 hours to provide information about why 2 planes with alleged Venezuelan gang members were not returned last weekend.
The government hasn't provided any information, names, evidence of the allegations. Most of them, they said, did not have criminal records even. So on what basis were these people removed involuntarily, not back to Venezuela, but to a third country far away from lawyers or their families? Maybe that was legitimate, maybe not. We don't know, and that's what this judge is trying to find out.
That's Devin Dwyer reporting. Money News, Michelle Franzen.
Stocks soaring after the Federal Reserve decided to hold interest rates steady and stood firm on 2 rate cuts later this year. The Dow added 383 points, the Nasdaq gained 247, and the S&P rose 61. Fed Chair Jerome Powell acknowledged rising pessimism from both businesses and consumers, but pointed to things like a relatively low unemployment rate as an indicator that the economy remains solid. On the losing side of Wall Street, General Mills. It reported a stronger profit for the latest quarter than analysts expected, but the cereal maker's revenue fell short of analysts' targets, thanks to a slowdown in snack sales. Amtrak CEO Stephen Gardner says he'll step down immediately after more than 4 years, citing concerns about maintaining the support from the Trump administration. A Delaware House committee has voted to advance a bill that Governor Matt Meyer says will ensure the state remains the premier home for businesses to incorporate.
That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Well, I don't want to jinx anything, but I don't see any crashes or stalled vehicles on the interstate slowing things down. We've just got the usual bumper-to-bumper brake tapping going on in the usual places. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, sometimes it's chilly in the spring. I like it chilly in the springtime. That makes one of us, or maybe even 2 of us, but not 3 of us because Ken Weaver hates it. Hey, Matt Murphy here talking about my friends at the Glock Store and why we are so lucky to have these guys in Nashville. Here's the deal, folks. The Glock Store could have gone anywhere when they left California. They came right here to Nashville, Tennessee, and we are lucky to have them. Here's why. Because at the Glock Store, not only do they sell any Glock you can imagine, because when you call yourself the Glock store, you have every Glock in stock. But they also sell every performance part imaginable. And they not only sell them to us, they have a manufacturing division where they make a lot of the performance parts right there on site, and they ship them all over the country. And people buy them all over the country because they are the best at what they do. So whether it's a competition trigger or night sight or extended control, Magwell, Red Dot Optics, whatever it might be to customize your Glock, they have it in stock at the Glock store. And here's why we're lucky. At the Glock store, when you walk in and you buy your item, they have a gunsmith on site at all times. When the doors open, a gunsmith is in the house, a certified gunsmith on duty. And whatever part you purchase, they're going to install it for free while you wait at the Glock store. There you go, for free while you wait. A lot of reasons to like the Glock store. Free parts installation, that's a big one. And I love these guys. Minutes away from the airport on Airlane Drive, worth the drive from anywhere, just off of Elm Hill Pike. Tell them I sent you to the Glock store. .639 Super Talk 99.7 WT, and we have so much to get into. I'm going to get to, is that Noble? I need glasses. I can't even see from that far across. Why is the phone so far away? Because Mandus.
Get off my lawn.
Yeah. Cameron's still with us. Hey, you taking the family to see Snow White, the live Snow White?
What part of having 5 boys do you think
I'm just
involves
asking.
that?
There's dwarves. There's midgets.
They're not that either.
I guess you can say midgets, though. They're dwarves.
People of small size.
They're dwarves.
Yeah.
You know the backstory on the Snow White?
Was this the thing where they
woke and they were going to make, and when they were making it, they were going to make the dwarves like not dwarves. They were going to be differently abled people or transgender or whatever. And then that was like just a complete disaster. So now they've CGI'd them, and the CGI isn't very good.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
The original Snow White was just fine. We didn't need to break it.
I thought so.
And then they made the Snow White series with Charlize Theron where it was sort of edgy and actiony. So now I don't know what we're doing.
You know what I don't like about these storylines? Well, one, we're remaking way too many movies.
Amen.
I mean, in my opinion. Number two, Disney has this now. Disney feels like they have the ability to update the animated movies and make them live action. Like this Lilo and Stitch,
right?
Which apparently, take this for what it's worth. I don't know, but I've read that it is apparently great.
Well, because Lilo and Stitch was great.
That's what I'm told. I never saw the original.
This is where I'm like, okay, so we just made it live action.
Right.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, but live action.
Right. That doesn't add a lot for me.
Me either. I like the cartoons, right? Two-dimensional.
Look how cool our animation has become that it's live action.
Right.
Okay.
But there is also a propensity, and you saw it in Wicked. I can't say I'm speaking out of such ignorance because I've never seen any of this stuff. But it's my understanding Wicked was, hey, yeah, the Wicked Witch was an awful human being that deserved to have water thrown on her and dissolve. However, she had some good reasons why.
There was trauma. She was triggered.
Right.
And
and it's understandable why she would be mean like that.
I just want to know why we watch these things. I don't typically. Like we used to watch movies like way back when, but now.
You know what I just watched? For the first and this is how long it takes me to get over people telling me I have to do something. Like if you want to guarantee that I will never do something, say, Murphy, you've gotta.
Yeah.
Whatever happens after gotta, I'm out. Like, oh, you got to do this, you got to do that. And I don't mean to do it. It's just something is triggered in my brain. It's like, I'm about to prove you wrong.
I have a shelf in my office of books people have given me to tell me I need to read.
Oh, you got to read this.
And they just sit on the shelf.
Not happening. But yeah, when these movies came out, I was told, you got to see Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
And I'm like, screw that. I'm not seeing Lord of the Rings. And 20 years later, have you watched Lord of the Rings?
We've watched the extended cuts of all of them.
Oh, that's what I'm watching. Because why not? Because they're out there and they're only
4 hours at a time.
If you want, a total of a 13-hour adventure, Peter Jackson's your boy. Because apparently to Peter Jackson, who made Lord of the Rings, 3 hours of a movie, 3 different movies, so 9 hours total, not quite enough.
Right.
I want the extended version. It gets out there, but it's good.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a battle.
The boys stayed awake through those. Mm-hmm. They thought that was really cool. And that's now dated stuff, and they still really liked it.
Even the lovey-dovey parts?
No.
Yeah, they kind of...
Hayden's my youngest, who's 10, the little beast. He just kind of covers his eyes and makes noise like, yeah.
That elf lady.
Yeah.
Something else. Why did I bring any of this up? Oh, I remember Water Wars. Have you heard about what Georgia's trying to do to Tennessee?
No.
They're trying to screw us out of Chattanooga, Cameron. What are you doing over there, the Tennessee? And it's right there in the name. It's on the building, the Tennessee, and you're supposed to be protecting Tennessee. And you're telling me that you don't know about this? Georgia's claiming that a survey, and I will have some details wrong, and that's fine. Y'all can look the story up yourself. But the basics are that Georgia is claiming that a survey was done incorrectly 200 years ago, and that they have actual evidence that like the state line should have been a mile in to Chattanooga.
Okay.
And so they want to redraw the state line between Alabama, Georgia, and Tennessee. Georgia does. That just so happens to give Georgia a little piece of the Tennessee River, which they plan to use for water in Atlanta and North Georgia. See how that works?
Yeah, I do.
You see how that just so happens that the state line extends to the Tennessee River.
And they're going to rename it the Tennessee-Georgia River.
As you would.
Yes.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
We're doing that now.
And so I have been questioned about this because loyal listeners to this program know how much I love my new adopted home state.
Yeah.
But they also know where I was born. And they're asking me if perhaps my allegiance is torn over where I am on this issue. And I am not torn, and I am firmly in camp Chattanooga and Tennessee, and here's why.
I want to hear this.
Atlanta's not really a part of Georgia.
That is a fact.
Is that fair?
Yeah, I'll back you up on that.
Weber says that's fair.
I'm a Georgia boy.
He's a Georgia man himself, too.
It's, yeah. My dad's from Warner Robins, so I know.
What about the play here, though, that, hey, the line's been wrong all this time, and we want Chattanooga? Like, no, really, they would move it like a mile and a half, and like they would literally incorporate Chattanooga into Georgia if they got their way.
Right.
And they're wanting to do this. And so imagine, I don't know how many people live in Chattanooga. Hey, all of y'all that live in Chattanooga, y'all have a state income tax now. Enjoy.
Yeah, so this is actually kind of a funny thing because I've been following it with Thompson Station and the way my parents live out there, and there's this tendency to want to annex things and move this line there or put this zone this way. And it's sort of the Wild West down there in Thompson Station right now.
Is it?
Yeah, in terms of like how they're incorporating different things and who can build what where, all that kind of stuff, right? And it just makes you wonder, like, in a situation like this, well, nobody's looked at the map. Like, for a long time, they're like, this is just part of Tennessee.
Right.
And there's no actual lines, like, across the trees and hills and stuff. There's just, well, the maps say. And so, like, what stops somebody from being like, this is clearly on our territory?
One of the stories that I saw that Georgia, like, claims there's a historical geological marker that they magically found. And they don't know why it says that, made in China. But whatever, it's really old. And believe them that it's really old. And, I mean, they're claiming they've got the survey points.
Well, I, too, can discover a rock.
But my thing was, even at this point, even if you're right, even if it's like, hey, this line's been wrong for 200 years. I mean, they're not moving it.
Right.
I mean, I can't imagine that.
Well, so now we actually have satellites, right? So we can now project the lines onto the topographical map.
Mm-hmm.
You can kind of see, hey, that's where the line is. But prior to this, if not surveyed, you're just kind of winging it,
Yeah.
And so,
and you would do like, no, my property goes to the big rock.
Right. That old fence there, the stone wall down to the creek, and then take a left at the creek, which is different. That's where it stops.
Mm-hmm.
And people be like, right.
Isn't that what George Washington originally did? I think George Washington was a surveyor. That's what they did.
Yeah, you had to do that stuff. But when you're imagining like large tracts of land and things like that, how impossible it was to, like the Louisiana Purchase, like what if we got gypped? Like, they're like,
I kept a couple acres.
Right. We sold this to you, but actually, this was carved out. This is now a sovereign state that no one owns.
Every time I think about major land purchases in America, and which is often, I think about it often, nightly, right? Oh, yeah, Greenland's coming. I just, poor Seward. Poor Seward. What was he like, Secretary of something?
Yeah.
He bought Alaska, and everybody got mad at him. Like, well, you moron. What are you buying Alaska for?
It's pretty cool.
Seward had historical justice. I mean, he was historically, he was proven correct.
You know why we actually purchased Alaska? So there was a state bigger than Texas. So Texas couldn't be like, everything's bigger than Texas. Well, not actually Texas, though.
I think I'm going to have to research that. I'm going to do that while we talk to Noble in Clarksville.
Good afternoon.
Yes, sir.
I heard you talking about the Democrats being the poor. I was born and raised in eastern Kentucky. Dad was a coal miner for 47 years. And anytime anybody graduated high school or quit high school, they headed north to get a job in the big cities of the north. So hardcore Democrats moved over and took the north over. I went to Detroit when I graduated when I was 17 years old in 72. My brother's been up there for 10 years, and everybody I knew, and I kept running into so many people in Michigan up there that was from the South all over. So, actually...
And then they came back to the South when the auto industry moved here. So it was like full circle.
I came back and then joined the military.
Awesome. Thank you for your service.
Thank you very much. But the thing I'm getting at is the South was the Confederacy, and they all moved north and kept the Democrats up there. And the ones in the South still took, and they changed over to Republicans a lot. And that's the reason I think the North is so much Democrat now. Big cities not.
Maybe.
Unions, maybe. Have something to do with it, Noble?
Well, we was hardcore, and... the unions was in there at the time. I was working for a heat treatment plant and getting ready to go into the union, and one of the union workers wanted his son to come and work, so they laid me off, so I headed back south, joined the military then.
Well, Mr. Noble, that's I like the way you're thinking over there in Clarksville. Thanks for the call, my friend.
All right, you have a good one, but I agree with you. The Democrats was the poor people.
Oh, yeah, well, they used to be. And there was a time where, my grandfather, I remember one of my first experiences in politics is when he said, we're too poor to be Republican. We can't be Republicans. We're not rich.
Yeah. That was until my great-grandmother died. Like, I was a Republican. My mom and dad were Republicans. We did not speak of this because they would have hurt the farmer.
My favorite story about that was Charles Barkley told me this story one time when I was interviewing him in Birmingham. He said that he told me he voted for a Republican. I asked him if he'd ever did it. And he said he did. He said he got in trouble with his mama. I said, what do you mean? He said, I told my mama I voted for a Republican. And she goes, what? You voted for a Republican? Only rich folks vote for Republicans. And Charles said, Mama, I'm rich. So, 52 after the hour on Super Talk. Hello, folks. Matt Murphy for Nashville Safe House. Where do you keep your important valuables? Where do you keep those things, your guns, that protect you and your family and your property from theft or from fire? Well, I hope that you keep them in a quality safe from Nashville Safe House. They have all shapes and sizes. They have all models and makes. They've got Browning and Fort Knox and Champion and Superior and Rhino, and it goes on and on and on. I mean, they've got the right safe for you. I've seen them with my own eyeballs. I mean, rows and rows and rows, like a maze of safes, all shapes, all sizes, all colors, all models. And they have one for the price point for you. Plus, they have professional delivery crews that will deliver your safe. Do not let a crackhead deliver your safe. Allow one of their pros to deliver your safe. You want to know who's in your home, and you'll know with Nashville Safe House. Plus, gun safes are sales tax free once again at the Nashville Safe House. Go to NashvilleSafeHouse.com, NashvilleSafeHouse.com, or stop by on 4th Avenue South. Tell them I sent you to Nashville Safe House. Hello, friends. Matt Murphy here for my friends at Genesis Diamonds. You know, Genesis Diamonds, we're lucky to have them in Nashville. 2 locations, as a matter of fact, Green Hills and Cool Springs. More on that in a moment. The value, the prices, the fact you get a bigger, better diamond for less money, it's all about you at Genesis Diamonds. They're not there to intimidate you. As a matter of fact, you can walk in. It can be fairly intimidating because of the number of diamonds, the different shapes and sizes, and it's a little scary. But they'll walk you through the store. They will kind of feed you baby birds, as I like to say. They're never working on commission, so they're not trying to upsell you on anything. This means that at Genesis Diamonds, and you remember that they were started by a former diamond wholesaler, they have cut out the middleman. They're selling for less. They have unbeatable value and the best selection in town, bar none. Check them out at Genesis Diamonds. Extraordinary service, unmatched quality, unbeatable value, and unrivaled selection at Genesis Diamonds. Green Hills and Cool Springs. Tell them I sent you to Genesis. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Does it surprise you, Cameron Smith? The Tennessee State House just Monday passed legislation that would mandate schools and other public programs offered to minors segregate their bathrooms based on biological sex. I would have thought that would already have been the case.
I thought it was.
I did too.
But
would disallow the use of facilities based on an individual identifying as transgender or identifying as a sex other than their biological sex. State Representative Gino Bolsa, Brentwood.
I just don't know why we can't solve the bathroom thing by just having facilities that are neutral and you don't all have to go in there as a group.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure.
Just seems easier.
Just if you have, I mean, women don't want to be around stinky boys. That's the problem.
Right, but if I have water closets with a door and I can just go in there and change and do whatever.
Community wash basins,
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't have a problem with that. Yeah, I mean, if I started a restaurant today, they would either be single stall bathrooms or they would be like that.
Yeah, amen. I don't want to, when I'm in the dude's room, I don't want to see the foot tapping, you know what I mean?
No, Mr. Wide Stance. Hey, have a great night.
You too, buddy.
Have a great night, Chris Webber.
Thank you.
Have a great night, Ken Weaver, wherever you are on I-24, stuck behind the fridges. We'll be back tomorrow on a Thursday edition. Until then, so long, everybody.